Chapter 158 Unstoppable Speed. Chapter 158 Unstoppable Speed. Sticking out his chest, Lin Zitian felt so full of himself being the center of attention. What he didn't see was the suspicion in their eyes. Fifth Elder, if Elder Lin wishes to fight him, let us owe him this favor and we'll repay it back in the future. Squinting, Huangpu Qingyun no longer second-guessed it and agreed with Lin Zitian. Lin Zitian cupped his hands to Huangpu Qingyun in joy. I wouldn't dare. This is something I should be doing anyway. For the second young master to grant me this honor is enough. Huangpu Qingyun's words revealed how much importance he gave himself. Lin Zitian was overjoyed. Merry Woods now had a powerful backer, but second young master, Fifth Elder, spoke with revulsion. Though his face had an understanding smile when turned to Huangpu Qingyun, as if the second young master cared about this pawn called Lin Zitian, he was only used as bait to see what other tricks Zhuo Fan had up his sleeves. At the least, they'd make some early plans on how to deal with them. Snickering inside, Fifth Elder cupped his hands at Lin Zitian. Elder Lin, thank you for your trouble. You're too kind, Fifth Elder. Lin Zitian's face had a glittering smile plastered on it. Like the bottom of the barrel, got hailed as the #1 genius. While Zhuo Fan could barely contain his mockery, there's no worse fool out there than a clueless lab rat. Fighting such a moron is a total waste of time. Zhuo Fan didn't waste words and capitalized on their inattention by jumping backward. His lightning wings were primed into sharpened daggers to break out of this encirclement. This time he wasn't aiming for the air, but the wall behind him. As the wall was the closest to him, his action would leave the other unable to react. This would ultimately allow him to escape Drifting Flowers Arena and take to the skies. He would be soon as free as a bird, in his own element. While also offsetting the three's profound heaven speed from catching up, Huangpu Qingyun shouted in alarm, "Damn it! He wants to run!" He cursed Zhuo Fan inside for his cunning nature. One careless moment and he would slip away. By the time he and Fifth Elder got to the hole in the wall, Zhu Fan had the advantage of the open sky outside. Ha ha ha, Huangpu Qingyun, old Fifth, we will meet again if fate allows it. Zhuo Fan sped up and left his laughter behind. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder gnashed their teeth but didn't pursue. They knew it was too late already, but Zhuo Fan once again omitted Lin Zitian's name. It was clear disregard. Lin Zitian's grew irate. This prick thinks of escaping with me from Merry Woods here? Absurd. Whoosh. Lin Zitian's figure vanished. Not even Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder, who were the closest, noticed his movements. The next thing everyone knew, he was behind Zhuo Fan and cutting off the latter's retreat so fast. Zhuo Fan was startled somewhat. Lin Zitian was in the profound heaven stage, but his speed was far above it. He isn't an elder of Merry Woods for nothing. Although, since when is speed everything? You're nothing more than a paper tiger to me. Grinning, Zhuo Fan didn't slow down at all, going straight for Elder Lin. This had the elder fuming with rage. You little shit, you will pay for your insolence. Like an enraged lion, Lin Zitian roared and charged as well, but Zhuo Fan wasn't one to mind, mocking him in fact as his lightning wings were sharpened for impact. Your funeral. The clash already had a conclusion in everyone's minds. Zhuo Fan was a monster, yet only a bone-tempering cultivator. He could face off against the impressive fifth layer of profound heaven body cultivator, Hell Valley's Fifth Elder, by himself. Not to mention he killed Yugichi in one hit. You, Lin Zitian, are no body cultivator, even weaker than Yugichi. Yet, you dare face such a freak. Truly a moron. Let's go together, Fifth Elder. Huangpu Qingyun spoke startled. Fifth Elder didn't understand. Second young master, we won't be able to save him even if we do join. Fool, what saving? He might not last a hit, but as a profound heaven expert he can delay that brat long enough for us to catch up. Huangpu Qingyun already bolted with the Fifth Elder laughing right behind him. Zhuo Fan had long guessed their plan and his mouth perked into a peculiar smile. Whoosh tilde. Just when they were about to clash, Zhuo Fan used mystifying phantom step again, only to appear behind Lin Zitian. What? Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder stopped in shock. Zhuo Fan's cackle came from behind Lin Zitian. Ha ha ha, your plan was for me to waste time on this idiot, right? You counted your chickens too soon. Damn it, he figured it out. Huangpu Qingyun scowled. Long Ju's group now realized as well. Lin Zitian wasn't there to attack Zhuo Fan, but to stall him enough for the other two to catch up. It was clearly out of Lin Zitian's intentions. ending up used by Huangpu Qingyun Regent Estate, was indeed an expert in manipulation. But Zhuo Fan saw through it with a glance, hailing his skills a cut higher in this 3-against-1 battle. They did not fight with only their fists but with their minds. If one side lost either aspect, defeat was imminent. Long Zhu admired Zhuo Fan even greater now. If it were him in Zhuo Fan's shoes, he would have attacked Lin Zitian and fell in Huangpu Qingyun's trap, but now the situation resolved and Zhuo Fan was free to leave. However, before anyone could breathe a sigh of relief, Lin Zitian punched Zhuo Fan as he roared, "Punk, you dare look down on me? Humph, you seriously don't know when to quit. Since you want death, I shall oblige." Finding Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder stock still from the corner of his eye, Zhuo Fan grinned. Killing intent flared in his eyes and thrust at Lin Zitian. Huangpu Qingyun was filled with regret. Who knew Lin Zitian was so thick-headed, still in pursuit? If they knew, they wouldn't have stopped. Now, however, it was too late to go after him again. All they could do was watch Lin Zitian throw away his life for nothing. Lin Zitian didn't seem afraid of the 6th-grade demonic treasure coming for his life. He even had time to mock, "Brat, don't you know power is useless when you can't even land a hit?" Zhuo Fan didn't seem to catch his drift. But then Lin Zitian vanished half a meter away from him and the lightning wings hit naught but air. How? Zhuo Fan was in shock. It was impossible to move so fast without build-up. Only his mystifying phantom step could do it, allowing him to blink short distances. What he failed to detect, however, was the ripple in space. This was a burst over short distances, but this burst was so fast that not even a profound heaven expert speed was its match. In his shock, Lin Zitian appeared again with a mocking smile as he punched Zhuo Fan's chest. With lightning wings in mid-attack, Zhuo Fan could only use his arm to block. "Humph, regardless of how fast Merry Woods is, your power is nothing. With such childish punches, not even 100 will help. Can one man's punch make any difference? He. Ever heard of constant efforts always prevail?" Snorting, Lin Zitian mocked Zhuo Fan, but his heart was furious as he added more power into his punch. But Zhuo Fan didn't care, as Lin Zitian was indeed punching like a child. The most he could do was add his yuan qi on his punch to rattle Zhuo Fan's organs. Zhuo Fan was flabbergasted to discover this paper tiger sent him flying. He planted into a rock and ended up buried under the rubble. This astonished everyone around, making them reassess Elder Lin. To send the freakish Zhuo Fan flying earned him the title of peak expert in the profound heaven stage. Some couldn't even believe the opportunist Lin Zitian had such power in him. Even Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were rooted in shock. Rumble. Zhuo Fan jumped out of the rubble, unharmed, but his arm looked inflamed. Raising his eyes on Lin Zitian, Zhuo Fan was now serious. "It seems I've underestimated you, Elder Lin." "Humph, you better believe it. We, the Merry Woods, have become one of the 7 houses thanks to our strength." Lin Zitian put away his fist as his eyes flashed with pride. All around looked at Lin Zitian with newfound respect. His figure never looked so imposing. Despite all that, Lin Zitian sneakily put his hand behind him and rubbed the pain away as he sucked a cold breath. His hand was purple. Chapter 159, Sinister Like a Snake. Chapter 159, Sinister Like a Snake. Blast it. Why is his body so damn hard? How is he even human? One punch almost destroyed my hand. Lin Zitian stood with hands behind his back, his head at a 45-degree up angle. Like a veritable expert, he was looked down on most of the time, and now, he finally had the chance to show off. But what people were unaware of was that his eyes were swimming in tears. Without keeping appearances, he'd be losing all decorum. He could barely hold it in. His hand was screaming in pain. "Ha ha ha, Elder Lin's power opened my eyes. I am in awe." Huangpu Qingyun laughed. The battle started with them having the advantage. Then Zhuo Fan had to take out some weird movement that made their advantage moot. Lin Zitian had the speed to counter it, but unfortunately, he was a paper tiger in spite of appearances. This Elder Lin showed he had what it took to fight Zhuo Fan. With the 3 of them working in tandem, Zhuo Fan was dead meat. Huangpu Qingyun proposed, "Elder Lin, you have just shown your strength, but it's best we deal with this little prick as soon as possible." "Yeah, Elder Lin. It will take you too long to bring him down, so I and second young master will help you." Getting Huangpu Qingyun's meaning, Fifth Elder urged as well in a sincere tone. He wasn't faking it this time. Before, Lin Zitian was but a mere cannon fodder. But now, He was an asset worth considering when taking down Zhuofan. Not only in terms of speed, but even with his power, he managed to earn the two's approval. His heart moved to tears. Lin Zitian, who never received such courtesy, cupped his hands. Don't worry, second young master, fifth elder. I will not let him escape as long as I'm around. I have full trust in you. Huangpu Qingyun then turned to Zhuofan with killing intent. Zhuofan sank into a deep and heavy mood. He could deal with them too, but adding a Lin Zitian who could strike him into the mix, and it would make living a lot harder. He already had a plan set just for this occasion. Or he wouldn't have been so brazen to show himself. But that plan was a final resort. It was dangerous, so he wanted to avoid it at all costs. The only path left for him was driving a wedge in their teamwork. As for where to start, did one even need to ask? Snickering, Zhuofan eyed Lin Zitian with an evil glint. Elder Lin, I was truly wrong about you. I never took you for an expert, when you are in fact no less than Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder. Ha ha ha, you're late in realizing the obvious. Lin Zitian laughed the resentment away, now filled with nothing but content. Zhuofan was a junior, true, but he was infamous in the Tianyu Empire. He had proven himself a man of great power and ambition. When he killed Yu Gichi, Zhuofan's approval made him feel like he was bursting with prestige. Zhuofan eyes his vanity and upped the ante, but you can't blame me for that, Elder Lin. Merry Woods isn't exactly as impressive as the other houses. Nor its reputation for that matter. Rubbish. Merry Woods' name has always been glorious. Zhuofan's words began to take effect. Having Lin Zitian cut him off incensed, it only made Zhuofan's devious smile wider. From now on, Merry Woods will be known throughout the empire. But did you perhaps not hear of those lines? What lines? Merry Woods, the opportunist. At a gust, it shifts between two. Today they bow before a red dress, tomorrow, they kneel before a tree. But on which day the wind is stronger, that no one would want the lame leg anymore? Of course, these lines were a proud work of Zhuofan. However, they comprised everything he witnessed in his stay at Drifting Flowers Edifice, emphasizing Lin Zitian's magnificent love life. Even Zhuofan grew narcissistic when he heard himself. Such literary talent would make me a bestseller, but to Lin Zitian's ears, it was jarring. His face flushed and turned to see Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder dry coughing. But anyone could see they were laughing inside with rasped breath. Lin Zitian cursed, bullshit. Who dared started this vilification? I will break the one who started this rumor. Rumor? Elder Lin is so forgetful, avoiding responsibilities. Now that you have a staunch supporter backing you, did you forget the fragrant and soft legs of yesterday? Zhuofan coincidentally looked at the terrace in that exact moment. Noticing his eyes, Peony Overseer was ashamed, boring her resentment into him. Chu Qingcheng frowned. Senior sister, is this? Edifice Lord Chu, don't listen to his hosh-posh. I was about to do it, for Drifting Flowers Edifice, but he didn't agree and we were through. What stuff about responsibility when he didn't do anything? Peony Overseer rushed to explain, but it only made it worse. Everyone was looking at her oddly at the same time. Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder were filled with mirth when seeing Lin Zitian, though more aptly, mirth filled with mockery and contempt. Playing with women was nothing to a man, but that didn't go the same with leaning left then right. Regent Estate prized loyalty above all else. Lin Zitian's face alternated between white and blue. His mouth parted, but he had no riposte. Even the weak and vicious Pill King had to sneer at such sensational news. Lin Zitian looked as if he choked on a fly. He couldn't spit or swallow, stuck in the worst moment of his life. Looking back at himself, he regretted it in his heart for talking with this bastard. You little shit, I will tear you into 1,000 pieces. Lin Zitian flew into a rage, ignoring his teammates as he charged at Zhuofan. The latter was startled and moved the lightning wings to attack Lin Zitian. Whoosh! Lin Zitian vanished again, only to appear before Zhuofan. Without a choice, Zhuofan had to block with his hand again. The same scene replayed, with Zhuofan smashing into a rock, then covered in rubble coming out of there. He saw Lin Zitian already on him, not leaving him room to even breathe. Zhuofan's arm was inflamed, but he pressed on with his wings. It was useless. Lightning wings were fast but not a match for Lin Zitian's speed. This resulted in him being ragdolled from one rock to another by Lin Zitian's kicks. Lin Zitian was no body cultivator, so such attacks meant little harm to Zhuofan, but such damages accumulate around the 7th or 8th round. Zhuo Fan was bruised all over. Not life-threatening, but it worked to cut at his body's strength. Now huffing for breath, taking 7-8 hits of this left him wounded deeply. Even his diamond body would start to decline under a profound heaven expert's onslaught. Persistent effort. Anything hammered long enough, no matter how tough, would soon break at some point. The same was happening to Zhuo Fan. Despite the battering he suffered, the staunch resolve never left his eyes. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder laughed out loud. Zhuo Fan was done for. Without them needing to even lift a finger, they never thought of Lin Zitian as someone that strong. He was flinging the demon Zhuo Fan around like nothing when they were having such a hard time with him just a few moments before. Ha ha ha, everyone has a weakness. Huangpu Qingyun laughed inside and shouted, Elder Lin, leave him half alive. Let me have a go. Chu Qingcheng was filled with worry, as was Xiao Dandan. Seeing Zhuo Fan suffering, she was on the verge of crying. Long Ju tightened his fists, ready to jump in at a moment's notice, but Vicious Pill King watched Zhuo Fan with doubt. Something is off here, but what? Master, did you say something? Yang Fu came next to him. Following his gaze, he suddenly laughed. Oh, you mean that brat? He will soon die at Elder Lin's hands and clear your resentment. He was so haughty and insufferable just a while back, and now he is getting his just deserts. Ha ha ha. Yes, that's it. Vicious Pill King muttered, I see it now. What, it felt off? His haughty and obnoxious nature is gone. Yang Fu was startled. Master, what is so bad about that? Why would he still act cocky if he is beaten senseless? You know nothing. Cursing, Vicious Pill King turned grave. Even in death, a lion's a lion. If a king takes off his gown, he is still a king. That gaze that said everything is beneath him will never disappear. But it is gone now. No, not gone, hidden. Like a viper poised to make use of that once chance that will take the enemy's life. Vicious Pill King watched Zhuo Fan being kicked around and cried in fright, Elder Lin, watch out. He is planning on taking your disciple hostage. Chapter 160, The Plot to End Lin Zitian. Chapter 160, The Plot to End Lin Zitian. Precisely. Everyone had eyes only for Zhuo Fan and were unable to see the bigger picture. That whenever Lin Zitian sent Zhuo Fan flying, it brought him one strike closer to the eastern stand with all the experts down in the arena. It left poor Lin Tianyu, disciple of Lin Zitian. Alone. Lin Tianyu was watching how his master taught that man who brutalized and humiliated him in front of so many people a hard lesson. Yet, Vicious Pill King's yell got him staring blankly. Why me again? Lin Zitian also stopped from shock, but Zhuo Fan snickered and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Humph, too late. He stomped and shot like a cannonball for Lin Tianyu. He no longer hid his intense killing intent and released it out onto the world. Zhuo Fan was still just 100 meters away from Lin Tianyu. It took a mere blink to one with comparable speed to those profound heaven experts to close this distance, leaving Lin Zitian unable to do a thing. Lin Zitian, you seem to have had a blast kicking me around. Now, I will kill your prized disciple. Let's see how you like them apples. Frightened, Lin Zitian knew he'd been led by the nose. But how, when he was a highly intelligent man, yet never saw any signs pointing to this? However, this was no time to think. His disciple was in Zhuo Fan's evil clutches. Lin Zitian flashed behind Zhuo Fan and punched as he roared, Zhuo Fan, fight me if you have the gut. Leave my disciple out of it. Whoosh tilde. Zhuo Fan vanished from his sight. Then a groan escaped his lips and his body trembled. Lin Zitian's rage-filled eyes went stiff. Looking down, he saw a hand sticking out of his chest whilst holding a slowly beating heart. Wish granted, ha ha ha. A sinister laughter reached Lin Zitian, but all he could feel was his body growing colder. His life ebbing away, but his eyes were ever clouded in doubt. He struggled to look back at the demonic youth. Why you? How did you match my speed? Didn't your disciple tell you? I already told him. It doesn't matter how fast you are when I know who your target is. Zhuo Fan clenched his hand and the beating heart splashed blood everywhere. Lin Zitian's ice-cold corpse slumped on the eastern stand. His eyes wide as saucers, dying with regret. Lin Tianyu wailed in fear and curled up in a corner, not even daring to look Zhuo Fan in the eye. Trash. You don't even dare look at your master's killer? Disappointing. Zhuo Fan left with a snicker. What met him were the frightened eyes of everyone else. Merry Woods' elder Lin Zitian was killed in one blow. But the worst was Zhuo Fan's casual expression when doing it. It looked like he was squashing a bug and not a profound heaven expert, and his calculative eyes looked on as if everything fell in his predetermined plan. It was as though he was able to easily pluck the lives of his enemy at the drop of a hat. Demon. This was the sole impression he conveyed. Edifice Lord Chu, I told you. You know nothing of this brat. Did you see it just now? He is a demon king, in the flesh. Xie Tianyang's expression was grave. Although this made it the second time he saw Zhuo Fan kill a profound heaven expert, the shock was in no way lessened. Zhuo Fan's slaughter was incomparable to any others. It was as natural as a king disposing of his slave. Such a cold and unfeeling manner made him shiver whenever he saw Zhuo Fan strike. The same went for everyone there as well. This brat is worse than vicious pill king. Peony Overseer's lip trembled. I can see now why the Hell Kill order was issued. But I feel that the Hell Kill order is not enough to make him feel an ounce of fear. Ching Cheng, you need to think this over carefully, whether he is the man you want to return to. Iris Overseer sucked a deep breath and spoke her concerns. Chu Ching Cheng muttered to herself for a while. Her eyes were filled with uncertainty, but soon hardened. Indeed. What you all say has its merits. But, isn't this the very same demon king who saved our drifting flowers edifice? Yeah, Sister Ching Cheng. Husband may be vile, but only to our enemies. He never harmed us. Don't ever think otherwise. Xiao Dandan blurted. Her devotion to Zhuo Fan was unflinching. After all, she desired to be with him for as long as they lived. However, Zhuo Fan once said he didn't accept Chu Qingqing's dowry. So, how could she accept her then, when she was nothing but an extra? So Xiao Dandan had to keep Zhuo Fan in Chu Qingqing's heart. Otherwise, he would not only refuse Chu Qingcheng, but the free gift as well. The heart could only bear so much for love. The two overseers also sighed, seeing Chu Qingcheng making up her mind. They all knew, however, there would not be one day of peace around someone like Zhuo Fan. Vicious Pill King watched the cold and sinister Zhuo Fan up in the stand and sighed. I was wrong. You didn't aim for Lin Tianyu, but was after Lin Zitian from the start. Correct. I wanted that old coot's life from the very beginning. Why would I go after his trash of a disciple for? Zhuo Fan chuckled. Also, I may be holding Lin Tianyu hostage, striking fear in Lin Zitian, but would Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder care about his life? Am I someone who doesn't know a person's value? Ha ha ha, right. When a viper bears its fangs, it will strike its mark. I was wrong in thinking Lin Tianyu was important. Vicious Pill King lamented and shook his head. However, your fight leading to Lin Tianyu was all according to your plan. You're catching on. Zhuo Fan raised his head and grinned. Lin Zitian was a fool, thinking he was in control. When in fact, every strike was predetermined. When all paths are sealed, his only choice was the only one he saw. It was the path I let him see. This was the conclusion I came to while I was kicked around. What a sinister brat. Huangpu Qingyun gnashed his teeth. If only I noticed earlier. I and Fifth Elder would have stepped in and saved Elder Lin's life. Ha ha ha, don't kid yourself, Huangpu Qingyun. You're overconfident if you think a daft brat like you can see through my schemes. Do you think a few books on ruling are enough to grasp the people's hearts? Humph, you're far beneath me. Zhuo Fan laughed with scorn. It would have been quite the high-stakes mind game if Yugichi was here, but you guys, just don't cut it. Clenching his fists, Huangpu Qingyun was infuriated. The great Regent Estate's second young master had never been patronized in his life by his peers. To the extent of being mocked as a daft brat, this was no different from a beggar cursing at an emperor in the middle of the street. The emperor was no emperor if he would take it lying down, or he wasn't Regent Estate's second young master if he let it slide. Zhuo Fan's mockery only grew worse when he noticed his fury. Huangpu Qingyun, you can't take it? Then let me reiterate. You know nothing of the ways of ruling, so don't go smear mud on the true way of grasping the people's hearts. If the three of you had gone together against me, I wouldn't have stood a chance. So I had to relieve you of one man, the oh-so-intelligent and ambitious Elder Lin. Everyone was fixated on Zhuo Fan, who was telling how he led them by the nose, and managed to kill Lin Zitian. Huangpu Qingyun's heart was bleeding from hatred. Yet his ears were attentive to catch the details. First things first, a ruler needs to see talent, to be tolerant. With how vain Lin Zitian was, all I had to do was to fling some dirt at him and he lost control. And you, instead of appeasing him, you mocked him from the side, making him fly off the handle. In his anger-addled mind, he left you behind fighting me all by himself. The witnesses turned to see how Huangpu Qingyun would react. One thing was clear though, he wasn't tolerant in the least, not at all how a ruler should behave. To be blunt, he was not leader material. Huangpu Qingyun sensed the change in everyone and his hatred for Zhuofan grew yet. Zhuofan just kept going, moving on. A ruler has control over the situation, placing worth on the greater picture. Of all people here, only Lin Zitian could counter my speed. But you let this valuable asset go further and further away from you in his battle with me, out of your range. You only had to stay close to him and he would still be alive. This is another fault of yours. Enough. It is you who killed Lin Zitian, and now you're trying to pin it on me? Humph, everyone knows how deceitful you are. Huangpu Qingyun could no longer sit still while listening to his mockery. Smiling, Zhuofan scorned him. A regent is a regent because he is leading the people. Those that shirk responsibilities are not fit to be regents, and are not worthy to follow. The people's hearts shivered. They watched Zhuofan, amazed at how much sense he made. It also worked to dampen their respect for Huangpu Qingyun by a great deal. They respected Regent Estate's second young master at first, for his strict handling of affairs, for being a ruling talent, but Zhuofan opened their eyes to the truth. He was no leading material and following him would lead them to a dead end. Even Fifth Elder's eyes changed, now sporting a different opinion, sowing discord. But this sowing was hidden very deep, since he was driving a wedge between their trust and not just based on emotions. Huangpu Qingyun's retinue was formed of blind followers, thinking there was nothing he couldn't do. If it worked, it couldn't be better, but Zhuofan's killing of Lin Zitian fell mostly on his shoulders. Saying he was unfit to lead at this point, whether the people believe or not, it cut down a great deal of his prestige. He would become someone no one wanted to follow and, most importantly, the cooperation between Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder would falter, making them weaker. Zhuofan smiled his evil grin, as if all were dancing in the palm of his hand. Chapter 161, Rumbling Bloodbat. Chapter 161, Rumbling Bloodbat. With eyebrows locked in a scowl, Huangpu Qingyun could feel the eyes on him taking a different nuance, making his heart burn with newfound rage. Damn it, this punk is good in psychological warfare as well. He got these geezers buckling with a few words. This can't go on. He must die, beyond any shadow of a doubt. I have to shut him up now. Will I have any respect left, any credibility, if this keeps up? With his mind set, Huangpu Qingyun restrained his aura, ready to make an overt attack at any opportune moment. Since I can't counter that odd movement, I'll just finish him off with one clean and hidden strike. Before his chance came, however, Zhuofan flitted to the closest arena wall, aiming for a quick escape. Curses, again with the running. Huangpu Qingyun cussed, feeling his plan ruined before he could even enact it. He wanted to sneak attack Zhuofan, so he dropped his aura to confuse enemies. But Zhuofan took the initiative to move first. Before he could, he was exasperated. The little shit is a parasite. How is it that whenever I'm planning something, he reacts as if knowing what it is? There wasn't anyone around to tell him that this old and veteran demon, Zhuofan, could tell if he had to take a dump before even he did, and now that Fifth Elder's trust in Huangpu Qingyun plummeted, his reaction was somewhat slower than before. This short delay allowed Zhuofan to arrive before the wall. The two hurried to catch him while Zhuofan was having a blast. Ha ha ha, too slow. You're far from enough to stop yours truly. Zhuofan lashed his lightning wings at the walls. The wall sported a brand new 5-meter-tall hole, allowing sunshine to spill inside. Fresh air rushed to him, lifting his spirits. Zhuofan then stepped into the clouds. He was like a caged bird finally seeing the wide-open skies for the first time. Fifth Elder gnashed his teeth. Only now did his senses come back, figuring out that Zhuofan's speech was meant to drive a wedge and affect their state of mind. How else could he escape from under the tight guard of two profound heaven experts in an enclosed space like Drifting Flowers Arena? This kid is more cunning than Seventh Elder. He may be sighing inside, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. The more outstanding Zhuofan revealed to be, the more he had to put the kid down. He's already a freak in bone-tempering stage. What will happen when he enters the profound heaven stage then? Who in Tianyu will be able to stop him? Huangpu Qingyun was of a like mind. He had to be killed. They looked at each other, finding determination in each of their eyes. They rushed through the hole and engaged in the chase. Vicious Pill King muttered to himself as he took Yang Fu through the hole as well. The only ones left inside were Long Ju's gang secretly sighing. Iris Overseer looked on in fright. Demon Zhuofan is beyond cunning. He played the astute Huangpu Qingyun like a fiddle. Now I can see how he killed the insidious demon, Yugichi. Hihi, but of course. Snickering, Xie Tianyang shook his head dejected. That brat is just too sly. Those with brains but not brawn will undoubtedly lose. Those with brawn but no brains will never get the upper hand on him. He is the single most dreadful thing in this world. My husband is brave and wise beyond his age. Xiao Dandan's pride in Zhuofan jumped a few notches. Chu Qingcheng smiled without meaning to. Even her eyes glinted with pride. The others had to nod at her words. Zhuofan was a rarity on this continent. Where could one find such a youth excelling in mettle and mind? Long Ju proposed, let's go as well. He is now in an open space with a high chance of escaping, but it's best we are nearby if things go south. They all nodded and flew outside, but a panicked cry came at this moment. Dandan, Dandan, save me. His master's corpse turned Lin Tianyu's legs to mush, unable to even move from fear. Watching Chu Qingcheng's group leaving as well, he supposed they were aiming for Zhuofan and got excited. Lin Tianyu started crying as if he hadn't seen his relatives in years. This man truly took after his master. He was still clueless which side was pro-Zhuofan, and which was anti-Zhuofan. He went and assumed Zhuofan made a scapegoat out of Drifting Flower's edifice. So, he hurried to Xiao Dandan, gave a few bows to the seniors and wept, Dandan, that demon killed my master. For the feelings we had, for Drifting Flower's edifice and Merry Wood's intermarriages all these years, I plead seniors to give master justice and kill that demon. Please avenge master. Long Ju's group was startled, then looked at him funny. The apple truly didn't fall far from the tree. He's as dumb as his master. Did you not see us standing at the side doing nothing, with no intention of stepping in? You are one clueless kid to come ask us for help. Lin Tianyu was off-put when they were silent and second-guessed. They had to be in fear of Zhuofan, unwilling to join, thinking their house's well-being was on the line since appealing to their morality went bust. He'd appeal to reason. He turned grave on the spot as he spoke with zeal. Demon Zhuofan flaunts his ruthless and barbaric power. Today he killed my master, tomorrow he will kill you. Even with second young master and fifth elder joining hands, they may not hold him here. If he runs, it will spell the end of the 7 houses. For our brothers and sisters, I plead you to think of your own house, of your bleak future, and join together with second young master in removing this vile spawn from the face of the world. Lin Tianyu spoke with righteousness, with valor, but the ones he was talking to were having a ball in their minds. Is this kid still playing the gentleman with no crowd around to see him? Better yet, since when did the 7 houses become brothers and sisters? Are you blind to not see Vicious Pill King almost annihilating Drifting Flower's edifice? You need to get your facts straight. Just how has this disciple been raised to believe this nonsense? When the time comes, he is the type that won't even know how he died. They only shook their heads and ignored him as they went on their merry way. He is a prime example of what a fool is. Miss Dandan, I find this kid upstanding, so why not take him? Later, you'll need to handle him well. Xie Tianyang cracked jokes. Lin Tianyu had no clue what this sword Marquis Abode's young master was going with this, but his words brought Xiao Dandan one thought only. Isn't that telling me to whip him? And her cheeks flushed. Lin Tianyu saw them treating him like thin air and he downheartedly implored Xiao Dandan, Dandan, Merry Woods is too far and I won't make it in time to report. Please, you have to convince your seniors to avenge master. Do it yourself. What man are you, letting others do your job for you? Xiao Dandan snapped a glare at him, then kicked him before storming back to the group. She was so perplexed. How could they both be men, with one a hero and the other an annoying coward? He even had the nerve to ask others for revenge when he didn't even look the killer in the eye. The more she compared the two, the more her love grew. On the other hand, Lin Tianyu fell to the ground and wailed dejectedly, what's wrong with asking others for revenge? How am I supposed to fight that freak who killed Master? This is not how a man. Outside the Drifting Flowers arena was packed with clansmen and alchemists, who were in the area, afraid of getting in the crossfire between Huangpu Qingyun and Zhuo Fan. Although they did leave the building, they were too curious to vacate the premises. They wanted to see for themselves the ending. How the demon Zhuo Fan, Grandmaster of Alchemy, was as scary as the rumors painted him out to be. Meanwhile, they were also afraid that they might get caught in the crossfire and end up injured. This was a profound heaven experts fight to the death, was it not? Sticking too close would send one to an early grave. Sigh, everything's so twisted. The Drifting Flowers edifice's disciples were tasked with upholding order. Xiao Wei was among them too, lamenting. Why is this times 100 pill meeting filled with fighting? She was thinking the Drifting Flowers arena might even blow up from their profound heaven stage powers boom. As she was mulling, a loud explosion rang her ears. The crowd saw a new opening in the arena wall and a winged figure taking to the skies Zhuo Fan. Startled, they began to admire how amazing he was to escape from Hell Valley and Regent Estate. But then, two more figures came out, Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder. They only took a blink to bar Zhuo Fan's way. A sledgehammer and a golden fist flew and backing Zhuo Fan into a corner, but with the wide open space around him, Zhuo Fan's bizarre art was even weirder, flitting back and forth like a specter. Not even Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder's tight blockade could hold Zhuo Fan in the sky. Three figures dashed around, but they always flashed past each other, not once connecting. The crowd had long stood slack-jawed. None could reach their speeds, but they could guess how astonishing it was. Seeing Zhuo Fan flitting around so relaxed was enough proof. No wonder he's dubbed demon when he can throw off profound heaven experts with his weird movements. Only a demon could move as creepy as that. Whoosh! With a sudden kick, Zhuo Fan escaped the two's encirclement. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were now panting in pursuit but couldn't catch up. They were body cultivators but had no movement art. Matching their speed to Zhuo Fan taxed their bodies. Ha ha ha, Huangpu Qingyun, time to count your blessing. Laughed Zhuo Fan. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were far from willing to give up. Suddenly, an aged voice came. Youngster, have you forgotten about me? Unable to react, Zhuo Fan was stuck. It was as though he was hit with an artillery shell, slamming him onto the ground, creating a 10-meter crater in the ground. And in his previous spot was a meter-large blood-colored bat with small eyes and sharp glints. The crowd cried out, "Third-level spiritual beast, rumbling bloodbat." Chapter 162, Dire Straits. Chapter 162, Dire Straits. Rumbling bloodbat, a seldom-seen peculiar spiritual beast in the world of spiritual beasts. The strong preyed on the weak. The higher the level, the stronger they were. Yet, this creature was an exception. It was no stronger than a first-level spiritual beast and had neither claws nor fangs. It had a shocking trait though. The rumbling bat wave. It was a sound attack that struck the soul. It would leave one in a coma or, worse, annihilate one's soul after using it. It would then go and bore its fangs into the victim, sucking blood away. It may be a mere third-level spiritual beast, but few were capable of surviving its sound attack. Not even a fourth-level spiritual beast could stand up to a flock of 10 rumbling bloodbats. Who cared how tough you were? Who cared how skilled you were? You'd still die from this creature's sound attack if your soul lacked heart. This creature that bared Zhuo Fan's escape was one that could strike fear even in fourth-level spiritual beasts. Jumping out of the hole, Zhuo Fan looked up at the 10 bats. He was finally sporting a serious expression. Then looking at the speaker and saw Vicious Pill King. He was holding a gourd, smiling at Zhuo Fan. Now I see. This must be your final move. Zhuo Fan squinted. He'd seen the old man carry the gourd for a while now, but only discovered it was a beast-holding item when cornered by Iris Overseer, Chu Qingcheng, and Long Ju not too long ago. He was still putting a tough front because of the rumbling bloodbats in his gourd. It was smart of them to back off and not to attack then, or they would have been doomed. This old man wasn't to be pushed around. Even after using blood essence 4 times, he still couldn't be underestimated no matter how weak he appeared. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed in admiration. Long Ju's group just came out through the hole and saw him standing amidst ruins. They turned to the sky and paled, rumbling bloodbat. And 10 of them. They all turned grave just when they thought Zhuo Fan had free reign of the skies. Outside the arena, he was met with 10 rumbling bloodbats. Zhuo Fan was now cornered by 2 profound heaven experts and a 4th-level spiritual beast equivalent flock of bats. Not even a profound heaven expert could pull an escape out of this, least of all, a winged bone-tempering expert. Their hearts were now stretched taut. Ha ha ha, Elder Yang. In the end, you are the most reliable to block this brat. Laughing freely, Huangpu Qingyun floated next to the old man. Then, he stuck up his chin at Zhuo Fan. Kid, let's see you run now. Hell Valley's 5th elder landed beside them, eyes flashing with cruelty. Sighing, Vicious Pill King looked on with regret. Song, Grandmaster Zhuo, I am in awe of Sir's wondrous refining skill. I am pained to have you as my enemy, but I am bereft of any choice. His words stirred the sympathy of many clan delegates, as well as the alchemists participating today. The demon Zhuo Fan, who offended Hell Valley, was Grandmaster Song. Such sorrow. A cruel death awaited all who dared oppose the 7 noble houses. But an exalted alchemist to find his end in such a wretched way was lamentable. The least the crowd could do was show deep respect while sending off this great man on his final journey. But Zhuo Fan only snickered. Hey, Elder Yang, you think too highly of your batses. They can scare a 4th-level spiritual beasts, but in the end, they're a flock. Zhuo Fan vanished as he took flight. The bats flapped their wings and opened their snouts. The air rippled and a visible wave traveled at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan sidestepped. The wave hit the ground but nothing happened. Yet, the stones around turned to dust. The people began to fear the rumbling blood bat even more. A normal bone-tempering expert struck by this wave would have died in anguish, but Zhuo Fan relied on his uncanny speed to dance among the attacks. He was almost out of their encirclement. Damn, Zhuo Fan is too sly. He noticed that the 10 bats are unable to coordinate and slipped through the gaps in their attacks. Let's block him together, 5th elder. Huangpu Qingyun cried in panic, to which Vicious Pill King dismissed his words. 2nd young master, don't worry. You'll only make it worse if you charge along with the blood bats. I will make sure he won't have anywhere else to run. Vicious Pill King opened his gourd and made a hand sign. A screech came from within it, followed by another flock of bats flying to the gap Zhuo Fan was aiming for, shutting it tight. Tilda. A dozens of times stronger ripple sent Zhuo Fan barreling into the ground, leaving another huge hole. When he crawled out, he sucked a cold breath at the sight. The sky was filled with rumbling blood bats. A rough estimate would give around 100 if 10 were enough for a 4th-level spiritual beast, then 100 would even kill a 5th-level spiritual beast. A bolt of fear went through the crowd, including Huangpu Qingyun. They were so frightened they couldn't speak. Not even a radiant stage expert could come out of this one, least of all this Zhuo Fan freak. Holy, just where did the old coot find so many rumbling blood bats? They don't grow on trees. Long Ju's mind was in a haze, not even the brat could get out of this one. What? Xiao Dandan jerked. You're saying husband has no chance? Nodding gravely, Long Ju sighed and pointed when Zhuo Fan was falling. Vicious Pill King made other signs and had Zhuo Fan surrounded by the 100 bats. If he dared fly, the bats would blow him back down. This barricaded area seemed to belong to a different world, covered by 100 rare rumbling blood bats. They tightened the space so much that it became smaller than Drifting Flowers Arena. Damn it. Zhuo Fan frowned as he jumped in the sky again. Tilda. Like a pillar coming from the heavens above, Zhuo Fan was sent into the ground without delay. His knees were touching dirt, blood seeped from his mouth, and all the rocks around him were blown away as nothing but dust. Ha ha ha, 100 bloodbats is so strong that even the kid's unyielding body is wounded. His death is in sight. Huangpu Qingyun laughed, watching Vicious Pill King with newfound respect. Elder Yang, you've surprised me. I never knew you hid such wonderful things. 2nd young master, you jest. These bats were gathered over the past 1,000 years by the Pill King Hall. I was only allowed to use them because of my modest contributions to Pill King Hall. Vicious Pill King then turned a sad look to Zhuo Fan. 2nd young master, Zhuo Fan is, after all, a grandmaster alchemist. He may deserve death, but leave his corpse intact. Humph, I really wanted to tear him apart, but since it's Elder Yang's request, I will let it go. Huangpu Qingyun waved, pleased inside nodding. Vicious Pill King made the 100 rumbling bloodbats open their snouts again. All of them struck with sound attacks at the same time. With a wail, Zhuo Fan felt his head about to explode and his mind fading. His soul was damaged. If not for the refining he had been through, he would have long had his soul scattered. Blast it. I still had a way out, but now it's useless. I should have used it when I had the chance. These bastards better hope I won't get out of here or I will slaughter them all. His head hurting like hell, Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and held on to his dear life. His bloodshot eyes and veiny forehead let the crowd in on the suffering he was enduring. Humph, he is a freak all right. Anyone would have hit the dirt by now, but he's still holding strong. Fifth Elder, exclaimed Huangpu Qingyun, laughed, his eyes sharp. So what if he's a freak? He's just slightly tougher than the average man. He'll soon drop dead anyway. This is for the best. Killing him here will show the world what end awaits any who stands against Regent Estate. Ah! Zhuo Fan's wail never ceased, akin to a flogged wild beast. The rocks he had been clutching had long been crushed to powder. Vicious Pill King didn't indulge in taking revenge, only feeling endless regret. His greatest and most respected opponent would find himself dead in such a wretched way. The alchemists around also sighed. But there was no one there willing to stand up to the 7 houses. Xiao Dandan's face was covered in tears, pleading Chu Qingcheng with her eyes. She bit her lip, about to intervene, but Long Ju pulled her back. Not even we can save him from the 100 rumbling bloodbats' onslaught. We will only throw our lives away. Let it go, there is no point. Long Ju sighed at Zhuo Fan's sorry state. Already thinking about how to abandon the Luo clan, his alliance was with Zhuo Fan. Without him, the Veiled Dragon Pavilion had no reason to help the Luo clan. With Zhuo Fan dying, the alliance agreement would fall through. Sigh, brother, don't blame me. I will look after your clan, but cannot uphold the alliance any longer. It just isn't in the house's benefit. Long Ju sighed, while the rest lowered their heads in resignation. Zhuo Fan was in dire straits, with no one appearing to aid him. Chapter 163, I Want to Kill. Chapter 163, I Want to Kill. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan's wailing was cut short. Everyone's heart seized with a shiver. Qing Cheng even began shedding tears thinking Zhuo Fan was gone, but what was so astonishing was that Zhuo Fan's energy signature was still there, with an azure flame in the center of his forehead under its cover. Zhuo Fan started breathing eased up. The sound waves didn't stop, but they weren't as aggravating as before. That's, Xie Tianyang cried, I remember now. In his battle with Yugichi, this azure flame appeared as well, shielding his soul. Indeed, Zhuo Fan was muddled from the pain to his soul and forgot about the azure flame protecting his soul. Now that his soul was at its limit, the azure flame came out by itself. With it, Zhuo Fan relaxed. Under the gentle and warm glow of the flame, his soul began to recover. Zhuo Fan felt how it grew and was on the verge to break through into the radiant stage. Slowly closing his eyes, Zhuo Fan remained kneeling and ignored everything around him as he let the warmth bathe him. This was a rare chance for his soul to advance, and he wasn't about to miss it. The proud Huangpu Qingyun now cried in panic at Vicious Pill King, Elder Yang, what's happening? He still seems to be alive. He's not dead yet. Vicious Pill King was also confused. Then what is this? Why isn't he wailing and seems to be enjoying it instead? Huangpu Qingyun was baffled. Vicious Pill King rolled his eyes and shook his head. How should I know? Elder Yang. Huangpu Qingyun squinted. You can't be thinking of going easy on him because he's an incredible alchemist, are you? Incensed, Vicious Pill King snapped his glare on him. Second young master, please watch your tone. Haven't Pill King Hall always assisted Regent Estate? When have we ever shown the opposite? Aren't we getting the body route for you as well? Ha ha ha, that remains to be seen. Everyone knows Pill King Hall yearns for this incredible treasure. Who knows? Maybe you'll just take it and run at first chance. Huangpu Qingyun snorted. Vicious Pill King was so furious he couldn't say a word, and his heart sank. Zhuo Fan's words may have been to break their teamwork, but they were undoubtedly true. This Huangpu Qingyun was no leader material, he was too narrow-minded. Fifth Elder walked to Huangpu Qingyun, watching Zhuo Fan assaulted by the rumbling bloodbats, and said, Second young master, I think he had come up with a way to block the bloodbats. If this continues, the situation will only worsen. What do you think we should do? Huangpu Qingyun was growing worried as well. Fifth Elder revealed a wicked grin. I suggest we attack him together. The bloodbats sealed that uncanny movement skill and we can kill him at close range. Also, second young master, didn't you speak of killing him yourself to ease your hatred? He. Yes, we'll do as you say. Huangpu Qingyun nodded and said to Vicious Pill King in request, when in fact it sounded more like a demand. "I'll be troubling Elder Yang to stop the bloodbat's attack and let us go fight him ourselves. But remember, don't let that kid escape again." Snorting inside, despite his anger, vicious Pill King complied. Who told the Regent Estate and Pill King Hall to sign an alliance agreement? For lack of a better alternative, he had to obey with a hand sign. The 100 rumbling bloodbats stopped, but Zhuo Fan's eyes were still very much closed as he kneeled on the ground. He looked just like a man on his last leg. With his reserves spent, he was unable to even stand up. With one exception, the azure flame still flickered on his forehead. "What's wrong with him?" Chu Qingcheng asked, anxious. With the sound attacks gone, he should have jumped to his feet. But he was sitting there like a statue instead. He may be either comatose or too weak to even move. Both of which were the worst possibilities in such a dangerous situation. Chu Qingcheng pleaded Long Ju with her eyes. "Uncle Ju." His lone eye shook as he said gravely, "Wait a bit longer. If he still has a scheme in play, we will not only fail to save him by going in now, but even ruin his plan." Xie Tianyang blurted. The rest nodded. They were all clear from Zhuo Fan's handling of Huangpu Qingyun so far. He always aimed for when his opponent was unguarded. He was unfathomable to always seem to manage to have Huangpu Qingyun trapped again and again without even realizing it. Huangpu Qingyun was thinking the same thing. Zhuo Fan looked calm, unmoving, but who knew if he was faking it instead? They wanted to avoid his sudden assault, which could send another one of them to an early grave. Huangpu Qingyun recalled just how dangerous it was so far, and he was soaked in a cold sweat. His steps were even more careful as they neared Zhuo Fan. The alchemists and the clan's delegates bolted before they could witness the intricate battle of before. To their eyes, two profound heaven experts, from the 7 houses, were shaking in their boots in the face of a defenseless bone-tempering cultivator. They were dumbstruck. "Dude, what's up with that? You are the ones after his life, you are the strongest one here, yet you won't dare get close to an unconscious man? You're disgracing the 7 houses, you know?" Huangpu Qingyun's response, if he could hear them, would be, "I know. Damn it." Taking a deep breath, Huangpu Qingyun closed in on Zhuo Fan ever so slowly, yet the sweat on his brow grew denser as well. He wasn't afraid of fighting Zhuo Fan. It was Zhuo Fan's tricky nature that left him harried at the end of it all. He was just scared of falling for Zhuo Fan's trick again. When they finally got to Zhuo Fan, Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder tested with a punch. Bam! The golden fist smacked into Zhuo Fan's face and sent him flying. Then a boom resounded as he was buried in rubble. Huangpu Qingyun was stumped. Wasn't that too easy? Zhuo Fan didn't even react, and he was now overjoyed. He must be still out of it from the bat's sound attacks. 5th Elder, we were right. His brain is the only thing that kept him alive so far. Huangpu Qingyun laughed. 5th Elder nodded and grinned as he invited, "If you would, 2nd young master." The two puffed out their chest and strutted to the rubble. The people were speechless. They were shaking in their boots before, but now they knew he was out like an extinguished candle, a lamb to the slaughter. They got their haughty attitudes back. What kind of people are these? The crowd looked at them with derision. They'd be raining mockeries if not for them being from the 7 houses. The two were too self-absorbed in their joy to notice, and were now going to pluck the fruit of victory. Chu Qingcheng was panicking. Even if she acted now, it was far too late. Long Ju looked up at the circling bats, then around, and said through clenched teeth, "Jen Suifeng, Iris Overseer, Peony Overseer, come with me to deal with the bats. Kill as many as you can. Qingcheng, you go save the kid. I hope Huangpu Qingyun will go easy." Seeing a familiar face, Chu Qingcheng nodded with conviction, but before they could start, another boom followed. Zhuo Fan jumped out of the rubble and the azure flame was also gone, but his eyes flashed with a bluish glow, as if flames still throbbed within. "Who the hell hit me? Step up and I promise not to beat you to death." He twisted his neck around to the two of them with an evil grin. Startled, Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder were incredulous. "You're fine even after being hit by 100 bats attacks?" "Ha ha ha, the 100 bats cawing were nothing but annoying." Zhuo Fan showed a cryptic smile. The people were dumbstruck. 100 rumbling blood bats were enough to kill a 5th-level spiritual beast, but he was safe and sound. Zhuo Fan is a freak through and through. Vicious Pill King was also dazed from shock. Long Ju's group finally relaxed. He is always giving us scares and worries. He has a talent to keep turning a crisis into a blessing in disguise. Long Ju sighed, but Chu Qingcheng frowned at the bats in the sky. The danger has yet to pass. No, it's all fine now. Xie Tianyang smiled. Look how his eyes changed. I only saw that look once, when he killed Yugichi. I will never forget that unnerving confidence. They all looked and realized Xie Tianyang was right. Zhuo Fan's entire demeanor changed. He was like a honed sword, waiting to leave its sheath and upturn the world, and deep in the dark abyss that were his eyes, frigid killing intent roiled. Even Long Ju, a profound heaven expert, shivered. Xie Tianyang laughed and stretched. He is itching to slaughter someone. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder nearby the rubble were tense. But the 100 bats overhead worked to assure their safety. Ha ha ha, Zhuo Fan, there's nowhere for you to run. So stand still and await your death. Run! Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan flicked his eyes at the beasts above and smiled. Yeah, there's nowhere to run now. And since none of you want to see me running, I will do just what you want and stay put. Stay, and kill. Zhuo Fan spat through gnashed teeth, riveting his boundless killing intent on the two of them. The two shivered and their hearts were struck by an odd sense of fear. The two found it hard to accept it. How can this be? Chapter 164, Discerning Field. Chapter 164, Discerning Field. Soul suppression. It was an ability anyone with a powerful soul could use to put pressure on those weaker than him, until they could not even stand. Zhuo Fan didn't reach that far, but was enough to instill fear in his enemies. This in turn caused them to feel shocked. Although both were body cultivators, they were nonetheless still focused on training their souls in preparation to enter the radiant stage. The best example was Huangpu Qingyun, who trained in Imperial Tyrant body art, refining his body with dragon power but also able to use dragon soul to refine his own soul. Their souls were strong, even for profound heaven experts like them. However, reality showed Zhuo Fan's soul exceeded theirs by so much that they felt fear. The only explanation was that this kid had the soul of a radiant stage expert. This thought crippled their hearts in fear. They stared dumbstruck at Zhuo Fan to such a degree that not even they could think it possible his cultivation was merely in the bone-tempering stage, yet could go toe-to-toe with a profound heaven expert and even have his soul in the radiant stage. Was such an outlandish coincidence even possible? Zhuo Fan picked up on their thinking and smirked. I believe thanks are in order. Without the rumbling Batwave's torment, I would have never have gotten such a timely chance at breaking through. The azure fire in his eyes died out and Huangpu Qingyun's heart seized with it. He felt a deep fear from the core of his being. That has to be it. The two were now certain Zhuo Fan just entered the radiant stage with his soul. His soul was indeed strong but not quite there yet to kill with intent alone. The reason for his still position before was because he was in the middle of advancing. This freak cannot be allowed to live. Yelling inside, Huangpu Qingyun signaled Fifth Elder with his eyes. Fifth Elder picked up on his decision and got ready. They had to end him now while they still had the chance. Or when he grasped how to kill with intent, it'd be too late. Bam! With no preamble, Huangpu Qingyun shot towards Zhuo Fan. His body lit up in a golden glow and was preparing a punch. Fifth Elder also took out his hammer, aiming at Zhuo Fan's head. Zhuo Fan was suddenly overshadowed as if a mountain was about to fall on him. Suddenly, in front of him was Huangpu Qingyun with his majestic fist, holding enough power to break mountains and cleave seas. In face of such devastating assault, Zhuo Fan was unfazed. Two azure glows flickered in his eyes and all he did was slant his head, and the might fist hit nothing but air. The golden light traced past his ear, blowing up a whole street of houses, yet powerless enough to not touch a single hair on Zhuo Fan's head. Regarding the incoming hammer, Zhuo Fan simply jumped and was out of its range. The hammer boomed into the ground, caving the earth for 20 meters around, yet only enough to reach Zhuo Fan's toes. He was barely standing at the edge, at peace, as if all was natural in the world. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were nervous, going at him again, with a flurry of fists and a rain of hammer blows. There were so many blows. Each was so fast that it should have sealed any means of escape. However, Zhuo Fan lightly sidestepped around the attacks without even the use of mystifying phantom step. Simple footwork was enough to get him out of any and all danger. Throughout these 100 blows, Zhuo Fan had danced in but a 2-meter circle, while Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were powerless to even ruffle his clothes. This spectacle was unheard of, much less seen, eliciting cries from the crowd. Two profound heaven experts were rendered moot in the face of a bone-tempering stage cultivator. They attacked 100 times but not once succeeded. Even if this was staged, It was not possible to have such uncanny accuracy while it was impossible to make sense of it all. It was all so clear to Longju and the rest. But they were all so shocked, so astonished, that they only stared bug-eyed for a long time. They were clear of this being a radiant stage cultivator's ability, the discerning feel. Within its range, the user could detect the most minute change. It was also easy enough to detect an attack's course. This was the reason behind all his perfect evasions. While he was under a barrage of blows, his heart was as still as water. This brat had reached a whole new level of freak. That's a radiant stage's ability, yet used by a bone-tempering cultivator. Longju was astonished, yet his heart was pained. How many elders of Veiled Dragon Pavilion worked their whole lives to reach the radiant stage, to feel its power for themselves, yet were unable to? Longju was no exception. However, this up-and-coming Zhuofan, still wet behind his ears, beat them to it. It was a sense of defeat mixed with admiration that made it so hard to swallow. He saw Zhuo as his brother, but he could not cast out all the envy he had. Why were they so different? Why couldn't he do it as well? Xie Tianyang sighed as well. By the looks of it, our little freak came out of his shell and became a full-fledged abomination. I wonder if he even has a limit. Will I ever be able to reach him? Haha, it doesn't look like it. Xie Tianyang shook his head in frustration. The others sighed and nodded back to the battle. Zhuofan skipped around calmly, escaping the enemy's range. The only thing off about him was the azure glint ever present in his eyes. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were already panting. They could guess as to the reason as well, but knowing didn't enable them to solve it. Zhuofan, a bone-tempering cultivator, was armed with the radiant stage discerning field, leaving them powerless to even land a glancing blow. You little prick, fight me if you dare. Come on, be a man for a change. Perhaps his mind was taxed, or his patience long overdrawn. That Fifth Elder started cursing Zhuofan. He was now regretting doing it, since two great profound heaven experts can't finish a mere bone-tempering cultivator. You're asking him to stand still? If this isn't ridiculous, then what is? You might as well ask him to tie himself up for you while he's at it. His words were met with profound disdain from the crowd. The 7 houses picking on others was a common occurrence, but never had they sunk so low. Humph. Now I know why Grandmaster Zhuo killed Yugichi. That old coot was so insufferable that he couldn't take it anymore. Hell Valley must be the most shameless of all 7 houses. Many whispers traveled, and none were good, holding some hint of scorn, whether open or otherwise. Huangpu Qingyun glared at the senile fool. If you want to disgrace yourself, fine. But don't go around dragging me into your mess. Just what is Hell Valley's requirement for elders these days? Shamelessness? Zhuofan only quirked an eyebrow and smiled a nod. I guess that's fine. Since I don't plan on going anywhere either, I suppose I might as well give you a sound defeat. You see this spot? I won't move from it. Zhuofan then planted his feet a tad deeper into the ground, his face filled with zest, just like in refining earlier. If my feet leave this spot, my head will be yours. SSS tilde. The crowd gasped in fright. The heroism of Grandmaster Zhuo is so unmatched it got to his head. There was nothing to fear while refining since you had that amazing ancient secret refining art. It is all because of that you managed to keep your head. But this is another matter entirely. You, sir, a bone-tempering cultivator, although stronger than average but is still a bone-tempering cultivator nonetheless. For the love of God. You are facing 2 shameless and despicable profound heaven experts head-on. They won't go easy on you just cause you're weaker. If you're still doing with all this into account, then, it's your funeral. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder jerked but turned bewildered. You little prick, what are you playing at? Huangpu Qingyun eyed him cautiously and the crowd rolled their big white eyes, with some close to spurting blood. Grandmaster Zhuo is rooted to the spot and all that's left is to tie him up. Yet, you fools are overthinking it, saying it's some sort of scheme of his. Humph, guess there's no frickin' relation between a man's nerve and his cultivation. A bone-tempering cultivator has more guts to face 2 profound heaven experts, while you 2 are more scared than a mouse. You don't get to see this every day. The people could no longer stand for how despicable they acted and scorned them despite being from the 7 houses. Huangpu Qingyun's face was aflame, finding his own words somewhat faint-hearted. But it was best to be safe rather than sorry in that punk's trap. Laughing, Zhuofan didn't even try hiding it. Of course I have one. But nothing overt, Just something necessary. Zhuo Fan took out a bottle and snickered. Don't forget, I'm an alchemist. He popped the cork and a blue gleaming pill landed in his hand with a shake. 5th grade pill. Bursting pill. Vicious pill, kings cried. And Huangpu Qingyun was also panicking as he flitted back tens of meters. He's gonna blow. The scene was thrown into chaos as people scampered all over the place for cover. They feared a bone-tempering cultivator's detonation would reach them. Long Ju's group was startled and perplexed. The situation wasn't that dire to warrant such an extreme decision as blowing himself up. To be truthful, the bursting pill was in fact only useful when one did detonate himself. The people looked at Zhuo Fan's calm face, still sporting that cryptic smile of his. Chapter 165, Dominatin'. Chapter 165, Dominatin'. 1, 2, 3. The pills fell in Zhuo Fan's hand with a light tap of the bottle. And with every fall of the azure gleaming pill, hearts were strung tighter than a fiddle. When 5 gathered in his palm, Zhuo Fan placed the bottle away. 5 pills ought to be the limit. 5. Vicious pill king's eyelid twitched. A single bursting pill could increase one's yuan qi by 10 times. If the body couldn't take it, it would blow up from the strain. That explosion was also 10 times stronger than a simple self-detonation. Taking these pills would turn Zhuo Fan into a ticking time bomb. It increased his power 50 times, but the explosion would be no less than a profound heaven. Experts, the damage wouldn't be limited to this small area either, but the entire Drifting Flowers city. It would be swept by the shockwave, razed to the ground. Vicious pill king's heart shuddered as he shouted in fear, "Stop him, or he'll drag us all down with him." Too little, too late. Zhuo Fan swallowed the pills without hesitation. In a blink, the wind picked up, and a rumbling echoed under the frightened eyes of his audience. The space around Zhuo Fan warped. Something seemed to seep out of his body as well, looking akin to raw and physical yuan qi. His lightning wings had grown twice their size under constant changes. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth as sweat trickled down his brow. His fist clenched, his face grim from the unspeakable pain, but he held on to his voice, not letting even a grunt escape. Bam! His body shivered and his 2 arms exploded in size. His forehead sported the azure flame again, but this time bigger than before. The azure flame now burned hotter, his wings flickered with thunder, and his cold eyes were bloodshot. His twisted face as well looked ready to unleash a gruesome power. The people watched the advent of their death from afar, incredulous of how much power he had gotten. He rose steadily from the 2nd layer of bone-tempering stage under the watchful eyes of Vicious Pill King and the rest. With constant anguish, the stronger he got, the more bang for his buck. If his control slipped while he powered up, the explosion would be less, but only by a fraction. But Zhuo Fan stubbornly hung on and his power soared. Huangpu Qingyun was appalled, but he was crying inside. What in God's name is this brat made of? How is he still holding it together? With a relieving sigh, just like a tornado, Zhuo Fan's power up reached the end. Yet, outside of everyone's expectation, there was no explosion. All they saw was a calm Zhuo Fan breathing in and out. That's Vicious Pill King's voice trembled. It's the profound heaven stay. The others could see the fierce aura around him and gasped. In just a few breaths, Zhuo Fan climbed from the 2nd layer of bone-tempering stage all the way to the profound heaven stage. This is too astonishing. Huangpu Qingyun and the 5th elder's faces were grave. They knew now the pills weren't to off himself, but to increase his power. But how could a man accomplish such a feat? To the average man, a 10 times yuan qi increase would burst him like a balloon. But this brat withstood 5 times of that. Just how tough is he? Monster. Huangpu Qingyun couldn't help but voice it. The others also watched with shock and awe of Zhuo Fan's staunch body, making a come-hither gesture at Huangpu Qingyun and 5th elder. Zhuo Fan mocked them with a smile. Didn't you want to fight? Well, come and get me. The audacity and scorn made Huangpu Qingyun and 5th elder burst with anger. This was the first time they were ever mocked this much. They shot at Zhuo Fan without words, and Huangpu Qingyun launched a golden fist right at his face. You little shit. If you have the nerve to taunt, then don't dodge and take it like a man. Huangpu Qingyun was goading him, smirking. Zhuo Fan lifted his hand. There's no longer a need to dodge. Bam. Fists met, tearing up the air with a sharp explosion and making ears sting from it. The 2's yuan qi collided and spread like a tidal wave all around. The pebbles and rocks around were pulverized under such raw, unbridled power. The people were frantic in getting their yuan qi up to shield themselves. But some weak bone-tempering cultivators were flung 20 meters away and spat blood. The shock from a simple clash dominated their hearts. The fight was going to be intense, but then, their eyes widened. They watched in shock as Huangpu Qingyun's all-out attack was simply blocked by Zhuo Fan. The latter didn't even look to be trying. Suddenly, Fifth Elder entered the scene from behind, swinging that hammer right at his head. Dong. Screeching of metal on metal resounded and another shockwave sped away. The audience worked to withstand it, but dozens were flung into the air. Yet, when they looked up now, their eyes were twitching. Zhuo Fan's face was as calm as ever, to the point of ignoring the Fifth Elder completely and letting a wing lightly block the hammer. Zhuo Fan didn't even shudder from the blow. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder cried frantically, "Impossible. Nothing's impossible, especially when it comes to yours truly." Zhuo Fan gripped Huangpu Qingyun's fist and threw him. Huangpu Qingyun slammed into the ground, sinking inch by inch, not forgetting about the Fifth Elder either. His lightning wings slightly shook and the old man flew for 100 meters before hitting the ground. But even so, he had to take 6 more steps back to stabilize. Looking at Zhuo Fan now, the Fifth Elder was frightened. But his heart couldn't accept it and charged again. Zhuo Fan brushed his attempt off, only staring down at Huangpu Qingyun with sarcasm. "Second young master, remember when you talked to me about men and women? Then allow me to inform you that this time, only those standing are real men." It was naked humiliation. Huangpu Qingyun roared and swung at Zhuo Fan. He was Regent Estate's second young master. How dared someone insult him? Fifth Elder arrived as well, smashing with his hammer, but Zhuo Fan only laughed at their futile attempts. His body was refined with diamond sand into a 5th-grade demonic treasure. He couldn't take these two on earlier because his yuan qi was lacking in bringing about the body's true potential. Taking 5 bursting pill compensated for this, allowing him to use his demonic treasure body to its full capabilities. Adding to his radiant stage soul, how could these two even land a hit? Grinning, Zhuo Fan placed a hand behind him and only used his left to block everything and anything Huangpu Qingyun threw at him. At the same time, he used his wings to dance to Fifth Elder's hammering tune. Clangs and dings were heard constantly, as the power behind each swing was enough to pulverize anything around them. The sting from the explosions hurt the people's ears, but they were too dumbstruck to mind. Seeing how easily Zhuo Fan handled 2 profound heaven experts while standing still was hard to believe, even when seeing it themselves. What is wrong with this world? Since when did there exist a bone-tempering cultivator who is such a monster, capable of making profound heaven experts become his stepping stone? This is 2-on-1, and they can't even gain the upper hand. Worst, their opponent is taking it in stride. Despite their curses, they knew the truth. The profound heaven experts that laid in front of their eyes were in no way weak, but this bone-tempering youth was simply too much of a monster. Long Ju's group was stupefied. A blink was all it took for Zhuo Fan's power to surpass everyone's imagination. Their minds couldn't cope with the impossible scene unfolding right before their eyes. The world flipped, the power scheme upturned, and a bone-tempering cultivator was playing with 2 profound heaven expert. Chu Ching Cheng and her overseers were bug-eyed. It was Iris Overseer who first recovered somewhat to gasp. Demon Zhuo Fan lives up to his infamy. The monster of all freaks. Xie Tianyang felt like crying. 8th Elder, I should go find elder brother to train with my sword. I want to revive Sword Marquis' abode. There's no point in going after that brat. That dream is just wishful thinking. Jian Suifeng sighed as well. Ever since they saw Zhuo, not only the juniors, but even the elders were suffering a serious blow to their self-esteem. Chapter 166, Dauntless. Chapter 166, Dauntless. Boom tilde. Not for a second did the explosion stop. Huangpu Qingyun had now clashed 200 times with Zhuo Fan. Adding Fifth Elder's hammer blows, it made for a total of 400. Yet Zhuo Fan had not once lost his cool. No matter how the two attacked, they could not even scratch him with cold laughter. Zhuo Fan was now looking at them as if they were a bunch of noisy children, hardly of any threat. Who tilde. Suddenly, the azure flame flickered above Zhuo Fan, slowly dissipated. Zhuo Fan's brow was locked, finally sporting a serious face. Almost there. Humph, have you swung enough? My turn then. Snorting, the ever-passive Zhuo Fan just stretched his hand and gripped Huangpu Qingyun's wrist in a vice. Bam. A simple ordinary fist hit the man squarely in the belly and gave Huangpu Qingyun the feeling as if a mountain bore through. He then whistled through the air like a ragdoll, only to pass through dozens of buildings on his way and ending under a pile of rubble with one down. Zhuo Fan looked askance at the ever-swinging fifth elder. One wing shifted and flowed along the hammer like a viper and latched onto his shoulder, the other whipped him on the chest. Bam! With a thunderous sound that could only be made by a crumbling mountain, fifth elder flew into the air before smacking into the ground, leaving behind a deep hole. When he staggered out of it, he slipped and fell down, spewing blood. 5 ribs broken. Fifth elder tried to bear through the pain as his brow was marred with cold sweat. He had never suffered this much in his entire life as a body cultivator. Worse, just one thrash was all it took to break his 5 ribs. Huangpu Qingyun fared no better. He got out of the rubble only to hit the dirt and spat out blood 5 times. With pieces of flesh in the puddle clutching his stomach, he was aware of the heavy wounds his organs suffered. But his shock of Zhuo Fan's power trumped it. He cultivated the imperial tyrant body art yet couldn't take even a punch. The azure flame died from his forehead and Zhuo Fan eyed the two coldly. He lightly stepped out of the footprints he made and patronized. I gave you not 1, but 2 chances. It's you who are too weak to make use of them. You ought to be convinced of your defeat by now. So it is only proper for me to take your lives. The crowd was in complete shock. With the two of them being second young master of Regent Estate and fifth elder of Hell Valley, they may be beaten at every turn, but only they had the privilege of killing others whenever and however they wanted. It was not supposed to be not the other way around. It was as if their killer couldn't give a rat's ass about the 7 houses' retaliation. But the crowd doubled back and wondered again, who is this man? Demon Zhuo Fan, killer of the insidious Yugichi. So, why would he care if he messed with Hell Valley again? When one of the 7 noble houses was offended, what difference would it make if he added another? This realization got the audience's expectation to rise. The 7 noble houses had no one to answer to for 1,000 years, until now. This was perhaps a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see the 7 noble houses finally being on the receiving end. It was high time they got what they deserved in full. They masked the joy they felt, silently cheering, Grandmaster Zhuo, you're our man. Kill them all. Besides, it had nothing to do with them anyway. It wasn't like enjoying the show was a capital crime. Zhuo Fan seemed to have heard their hearts and stepped towards Huangpu Qingyun with killing intent in his eyes. Huangpu Qingyun was downright panicking, finally getting acquainted with the taste of fear for the very first time. He never saw someone as powerful as Zhuo Fan, nor one to have such a matching imposing flair. Deep down, he began to feel like a meager ant waiting to be squished. Sweating like a pig, Huangpu Qingyun fell backward with a mask of fear and not even trying to put on a token of resistance. Hell Valley's fifth elder felt just as helpless. This freak Zhuo Fan surpassed their expectations. He wanted to go and help, but he needed power, which he didn't possess. Also, what was he doing going around helping Regent Estate's second young master when his situation was no better? However, a 7-colored mist flew at the squinting Zhuo Fan. Rainbow cloud palm, Yang Song. Of course it is me. Vicious Pill King propped his frail body as he used the signature profound ranked martial art of Pill King Hall. His mouth curved into a grin. Grandmaster Zhuo, I admit your refining skill is thousands of times better than mine, but your escape is nigh impossible from the poison of my rainbow cloud palm. Yang Song, putting up this front will only speed your death. Why must you throw your life away? Zhuo Fan frowned as he shouted at Vicious Pill King. Grinning, Vicious Pill King raised his head and sighed, repaying favor with favor. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and secretly nodded. Boom. The 7-colored poisoned mist swallowed Zhuo Fan whole. Huangpu Qingyun was grasping straws at this point, happy to find hope in this frail rescuer. Thank you, Elder Yang, but this brat is a freak of nature. Can your rainbow cloud palm handle him? Cough, cough. No, it can only buy time. Using a profound ranked martial art with an already weary and damaged body only aggravated his precarious state, resulting in a vicious coughing fit, followed by spitting blood. Yang Fu could no longer stand still and watch him suffer, but Vicious Pill King gestured to him to stand down. Second young master, the bursting pill has increased his power to profound heaven stage for a short while, but it comes with side effects. As this power isn't his to begin with, once the time is up, cough tilde. You're saying he'll go back to normal? Huangpu Qingyun's eyes shined, his face ecstatic. He could see the dawn of victory on the horizon. Vicious Pill King smiled. it won't stop there. He forced himself to increase his power and it will undoubtedly harm his body, no matter how tough he is. Once his boost is sapped, his body will be torn from the inside, his power is waning. He will be nothing more than a lamb to the slaughter. We just need to hang on for a bit and victory will be ours. Huangpu Qingyun found hope rekindled. Fifth Elder was thrilled as well, but how long can he last? Fifth Elder asked nervously, and Huangpu Qingyun looked at Yang Song eagerly snickering. Vicious Pill King's eyes glinted at the rainbow mist. Not long. You may not have noticed, but the azure flame wisped away from his forehead. His time is running short. Huangpu Qingyun reddened with shame. The two were scared shitless and that made them lose all reason. Vicious Pill King shook his head, fully grasping the seriousness of the situation. Second young master, you can't blame yourselves. This brat is too cunning, seeing through you and having you buy into his fake bravado. He is now under my rainbow cloud palm and is suffering from its poison. He will soon be too weak to put up any resistance. Huangpu Qingyun was immensely grateful. He could finally see the light. Chu Qingcheng, however, was frowning in worry. Then a sudden laughter came from within the mist. Ha ha ha, you're indeed praiseworthy, Vicious Pill King. I can't hide the bursting pill's side effect from you. Although, you are wrong about one thing. The time I have to kill the likes of you is aplenty. Humph, Grandmaster Zhuo, you can't fool me. You had your chance before, but now, under my rainbow cloud palm's poison, your Yuan Qi will be sapped even faster. Oh, you mean these 7 poisons? More laughter spread from the mist. Elder Yang, you may not recall our discussion, but to whom this world belonged to again? My answer is to men and smart people, naturally. Vicious Pill King didn't know where Zhuo Fan was going with this. With another laughter, Zhuo Fan continued, mine is different. The world belongs only to the strong. Suddenly, black billowing energy spewed from within the 7-colored mist and swallowed the poison mist whole. And from amidst the black energy, Zhuo Fan strutted out like a king, unharmed and untouched. Impossible. Pill King Hall's 1,000-year-long research in the 7 poisons, bug-eyed, Vicious Pill King staggered 2 steps back. All the shocks he experienced today paled to this grinning. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed. Old man, do you get my meaning? I am not saying you should lump me together with those useless broads. What I'm saying is not to take me for a weakling, the same as them. Your poison only works on the weak, with not one damn effect on the strong like me. Vicious Pill King gasped heavier and heavier. Unknown if from shock or anger, but Iris Overseer was so pissed her eyes spat fire. Who is this brat calling weak? Easy now, easy, it's all just an act. Xie Tianyang placated her, and smiled. Moreover, his words clarified that you and he have nothing going on. This is for your own good. At least Regent Estate won't come finding faults with you. Yeah, Darling's words are savage, but he's always looking out for us. Not to mention, we are indeed weaker than Darling. Xiao Dandan looked at him like a love-struck puppy. Infatuated the more she gazed upon him, and grew in boldness as well. Peony Overseer pinched her. Damn girl, you're starting to get on my nerves. Chapter 167, Invincible. Chapter 167, Invincible. Zhuo Fan dominated the battlefield. He was a living paragon, taking dauntless steps towards the 3. The murderous glint in his eyes was razor-sharp and got them shaking from the very core. Zhuo Fan was now the picture of indomitability, willing to slay everything that dared bar his path, including gods. Huangpu Qingyun had lost all will to even resist, standing there like a terrified chicken. The 3 never dreamed they'd see the day when they would run into such a dreadful foe. For 3 great experts, joint together too, sinking so low was an irony in and of itself. Sweating bullets, Vicious Pill King watched Zhuo Fan with nothing but fear. He very much knew of his foe's weakness, needing but little time to turn all of this around, yet, he couldn't stop the sense of powerlessness boring deep in his heart. This was power. He knew how to counter, but lacked the means to do so. The power gap was a bottomless pit. Vicious Pill King wrecked his mind about, and suddenly his eyes flashed with resolve. He took out a bottle toward the other 2, second young master, both of you take a pill. He proceeded to give each of them one. Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder stared at it in shock. Zhuo Fan's brow also shook. He was more than familiar with it. In fact, it was the same pill he used. Bursting Pill eyes shuddering, Huangpu Qingyun's heavy gaze landed on Vicious Pill King. Elder Yang, this is indeed the only way. Even if we need someone to self-destruct to kill him. Huangpu Qingyun squinted at Fifth Elder. Fifth Elder, I entrust this task to you. Have no worry, I will pay your valley a personal visit and present my utmost gratitude to Valley Lord, in honor of your selfless sacrifice. Regent Estate and Hell Valley will forevermore be allies. When the time to blow is at hand, why the hell aren't you doing it? Fifth Elder was about to rain curses, but Huangpu Qingyun's dead-set eyes cut him deep. Regent Estate is a double-crossing two-timing pack of pricks. I can bet my life on it that Huangpu Qingyun won't ever take Hell Valley as his ally. Even if he does, what freaking good will that honor do me? Fifth Elder wouldn't stick his head out even for Hell Valley. Huangpu Qingyun saw Fifth Elder still wavering and stared him down while belittling him. This brat is Hell Valley's problem to begin with. It's your duty to finish him. Fifth Elder's face sank, itching to tear Huangpu Qingyun a new one. Hell Valley has a score to settle with this demon, but aren't you also aiming to kill him? And now that you find yourself lacking, you wish to throw me to the wolves. Zhuo Fan shook his head and snickered. When life and death hung in the balance, almost everyone would cling to their only vain chance at life. Why would he sacrifice himself for the sake of others? Everyone looked on with respect and deference towards Regent Estate, but none would ever wash their necks and spill blood for them. Who was that big of a fool anyway? Hey, no need to shift the blame, you'll both be dropping dead soon enough. Grinning, Zhuo Fan's fist ebbed with black energy. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elders shuddered and stepped back in horror. Vicious Pill King shook his head and shouted, Second young master, Fifth Elder, this pill isn't meant to kill you. It is to boost your power like it did to the brat. What did you say? The two shouted in unison, watching him flabbergasted. Sighing inside, Vicious Pill King showed a trace of disappointment. These two were great in the 7 houses, but they couldn't hold a candle to a kid's Veiler. His face hard, he spoke, you are body cultivators, while he is a freak of nature, you are titans. If he could take 5, how could you not even handle one? And since death is certain, why not go for broke? Isn't it better to die on your terms than end up lambs to the slaughter like my weak self? The two trembled and gathered up their courage as they looked at the pill in their hands. Then they swallowed it. Instantly, a gale blew and their yuan qi spiked. Overpowering yuan qi coursed through their veins, eating at their flesh. The pain was excruciating and elicited a roar from them. Both the yuan qi-imbued roar scattered even the rumbling blood bats, while the people around covered their ears in hope of dampening the splitting headache. But this power couldn't be denied, tearing at their ears and making them all bleed. Zhuo Fan had to take a few steps back from the raw display of power. Vicious Pill King was pushed back more than 10 feet as well, but his breath was as uneven as before. With how Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were profound heaven experts to begin with, a 10 times increase in power far outstripped the norm. The increase finally stopped and the two felt the surging yuan qi within their bodies. The power was intoxicating, evident from their excited faces. They could never believe this was their power. Now looking at Zhuo Fan, they shed all fears and bore down on him with killing intent. Ha ha ha, this outcome is only logical. Taking a bursting pill is nothing when you're a profound heaven stage cultivator. Vicious Pill King laughed in glee. This was his desperate attempt at turning things around, yet never once did he believe it would work. Long Ju's group felt the two's raw power, far exceeding Zhuo Fan's, and were filled with concern. Zhuo Fan's advantage was stripped and, even worse, his time was running out. As time passed, the two may not be able to defeat him, but his yuan qi would run dry and all that awaited him was death. Zhuo Fan couldn't be more clearer on this. In fact, this was his main worry. Tightening his fists, with a burst of power, Zhuo Fan's wings flickered and stared down the three of them. We all know I don't have time to waste. So I'll just snatch victory with one blow. Humph, couldn't agree more. I will take your head myself. With great power came a great boost in ego to Huangpu Qingyun, releasing all that he was worth. Following dragon's roars, 6 golden dragons swirled around him, the same as when he first attacked Zhuo Fan. But soon, a 7th dragon was added. Imperial Tyrant Body Art, 7th Stay. Not only Vicious Pill King but even Long Ju's group gasped. The Imperial Tyrant Body Art was a marvel among body cultivation methods. Each stage would transform the user body, toughening and strengthening it in all aspects. With him advancing in such a dire moment, Huangpu Qingyun's power must have grown by no less than 10 times in a blink. The people turned to Zhuo Fan with worry. Huangpu Qingyun had now become the same level of freak as Zhuo Fan. Hey, you little shit. Feast your eyes on Regent Estate's Imperial Tyrant Body ART's true power. Huangpu Qingyun roared and charged. The 7 golden dragons swirled around and made all defense moot. Zhuo Fan's squinted fearlessly. He charged as well, although his display was much weaker at the moment of impact. Zhuo Fan revealed his trademark smirk. Kid, when it comes to martial arts, your wretched Regent Estate has nothing on me. Zhuo Fan roared, Wraith Style's first move, Soaring Demonic Dragon. Roar. With a sky-shaking roar, Zhuo Fan was enveloped in the image of a black dragon as he clashed with Huangpu Qingyun. The 7 golden dragons and the black dragon collided, unleashing a shockwave of epic proportion. The witnesses had to cough blood while the weaker ones were knocked out cold. Even Vicious Pill King was hurled 300 meters into the air. He never would have guessed Zhuo Fan was hiding so many outstanding abilities. It was no less than Regent Estate's Imperial Tyrant Body Art, if not stronger. When things finally settled, people relaxed. They turned to see smoke billowing and watched dumbstruck. Zhuo Fan and Huangpu Qingyun changed positions, but Zhuo Fan was as mighty as ever, with no decrease in his aura, just like a god of war. His eyes flashed with boundless valor. As for Huangpu Qingyun, he was pale and blood pooled at his feet. Looking down, he saw half of his body in pieces. His innards had long turned to dust. How can it be so strong? Huangpu Qingyun's eyes bulged out of his sockets as he peered into the hole in his body. Then, his eyes went dead and collapsed in his own blood. His death was the same as any of Zhuo Fan's victims, filled with endless remorse. Gasping, the people stared at Zhuo Fan with dread. Huangpu Qingyun, under the bursting pill, at the peak of his power, was killed in one blow. Vicious Pill King as well as Long Ju watched, astonished at Zhuo Fan's new degree of power, making them reassess this youth's level. They thought that in Huangpu Qingyun's newfound power against Zhuo Fan, a tie was already an extravagant wish. But it went way beyond that, getting killed with only a single blow. Xie Tianyang gasped and lamented, now I really need to go practice my sword with Big Brother. Yay! We hit the next Patreon goal. For this week, we will be posting 5 chapters a week cause we reached the goal. Well, if next week is below the goal, we will revert back to 4. Chapter 168, Leaving by Suicide. Chapter 168, Leaving by Suicide. It was just too hard a truth to swallow. Hell Valley's 5th elder still sported a confident smile in his power, just as Huangpu Qingyun before him. But witnessing the latter's miserable ending cut all his bravado short as he reeled back again and again. No, that is no human. Not even a bursting pill is enough to defeat him. I need to escape, now. Second young master. Suddenly, 4 cries echoed and 4 figures were next to Huangpu Qingyun and lamenting his fate. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow at the 4. They were Huangpu Qingyun's porters. In the first layer of the Profound Heaven stage, however, Zhuo Fan's soul was now in the Radiant stage and this time, looked at the 4 with a frown and suspicious eyes. These guys were indeed of Profound Heaven cultivation but were weak as hell, even when compared with peak bone tempering experts. No wonder Huangpu Qingyun told them to stand aside. But why are they here anyway? At one point in his thinking, Zhuo Fan's vision swirled and his body was on the verge of collapse. Damnation, I'm running out of time. Gnashing his teeth, Zhuo Fan braced himself to keep up appearances and then flee from this place. Staying here longer than necessary would only make it worse for him, as he wouldn't be able to hold on for long and fall unconscious. At that point, his head was up for grabs but he didn't get the chance as the 4 porters roared and jumped him. You savage mongrel. You dare kill Regent Estate's 2nd young master, we will kill you. Just the 4 of you? Please. Zhuo Fan snorted, but as the 4 approached, his mind whirled and his power plummeted. Bursting Pill's effect was declining faster and faster. Biting his tongue to clear his head, Zhuo Fan's wing lashed out and the 3 porters were cut in 2 while the latter was wailing on the ground having his arm chopped off. Ignoring the lucky fellow, Zhuo Fan flew away as fast as he could. Vicious Pill King paused for a moment before yelling, 5th elder, stop him now. His fight with 2nd young master used up his Yuan Qi and can't hold on for long. We have to keep him here at all costs. When 5th elder was ready to slink into obscurity, he whipped his head around and saw the 3 dead and 1 rolling on the ground. His eyes lit up then laughed out loud. Demon Zhuo Fan's attacks were ruthless and precise. How could he just harm and not kill? His body can't take it and didn't have the time to finish the last one. Fifth Elder then shot straight for Zhuo Fan and swung his mighty hammer. With his vision fading away, Zhuo Fan swayed in his flight. He watched the incoming hammer. Dazed Chu Qingcheng was beside herself with worry, but there was not enough time to help. Fifth Elder cackled, his eyes lit up with savagery. Ha ha ha, demon Zhuo Fan, time to pay for what you did to Seventh Elder and Second Young Master with your life. You're not nearly worthy enough to take my life. His body's power was sapped, but his eyes never lost their ruthlessness. Biting his tongue again to sober somewhat, Zhuo Fan roared and lashed with his wings like a pair of lightning whips. Bam! Fifth Elder's hands went numb from pain, with the half-a-ton hammer slipping from his grip, flung away by Zhuo Fan. Yet Fifth Elder couldn't be happier. Ha ha ha, wise ass. It is you who fell for it this time. You can't possibly fend me off when you have no wings to protect you and your body is too weak to resist. Fifth Elder's hand was wrought in a fierce flame and clawed at Zhuo Fan's chest. High spirit ranked martial art, back-piercing fire claw. With the lightning wings used to fend off the hammer, they were too far off to recall them in time. Zhuo Fan's chest was wide open, with Fifth Elder being a body cultivator in the fifth layer of profound heaven stage and using a high spirit ranked martial art, the strike would go straight through him. Not even Zhuo Fan could keep his life. Then Fifth Elder smirked while Chu Qingcheng was watching below, racked with anxiety and powerless to help. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed coldly and said, I already told you. You're not worthy enough to take my life. Zhuo Fan roared, Wraith-style second move, Ghostly Dragon Claw. With another heaven-shaking dragonic roar, the two claws clashed. Something incredible happened. In that instant, Zhuo Fan ripped Fifth Elder's entire arm clean off. Blood spurted, but Fifth Elder took a long time for the feeling to sink in. He turned to his arm and then fell from the sky wailing. Only Zhuo Fan, the invincible, stood in the sky like a king. The burning arm he was clutching was now soaked in blood. Humph, no one is worthy of taking yours trueless life. Snorting, Zhuo Fan once again displayed his power for all to see. He clenched his hand and Fifth Elder's hand was ripped to pieces. He's just too strong. They couldn't be further from the truth. Zhuo Fan's power kept dropping, but even so, he ripped the arm off Fifth Elder despite the latter having been at his peak of power, and having taken the bursting pill. Such power struck the core of everyone. Vicious Pill King had long been reduced to standing there dumbly. Zhuo Fan's early power was based on the 5 bursting pills, but now that the pill's effect was waning, how was he still invincible? Even Long Ju's eye bulged out. Who was Hell Valley's Fifth Elder? An expert that clashed with Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Third Elder thousands of times to a draw. The shock was palpable, seeing his hand ripped off like it was a child's play. Just how am I going to explain this to Third Brother? This little freak has far surpassed him. How shocked will he be when he finds out? Long Ju shook his head, turning to Long Kuei and Long Jie. Maybe you'll be the one to break the news to him. The two had long stopped listening. They never had truly witnessed Zhuo Fan fight for real, and were now watching dumbstruck at what their peer was capable of. Panting, Zhuo Fan had used too much of his energy. He snapped a cold glare at the dazed Vicious Pill King and flew off, biting his lip. Vicious Pill King's eyes roamed everywhere, and after some hesitation, he roared, Zhuo Fan, don't forget. I'm still around. The 100 rumbling blood bats flew at Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan's flight faltered and glared back. Old fool, don't be obstinate. I let you go in respect from one Grandmaster Alchemist to another. Don't you come and throw your life away. Humph, as I was entrusted, I shall reply with the same devotion. Second Young Master is dead and only your head will keep me alive. Bluntly speaking, either you die, or I die. Vicious Pill King roared as his hand made signs. The 100 rumbling opened their snouts and unleashed rumbling bat waves on Zhuo Fan. A huge ripple struck Zhuo Fan just like a tidal wave. Chu Qingcheng was overwhelmed with alarm. This was a soul attack. Zhuo Fan's tough body was useless against it and could only resist with the azure flame, and when that happened, he'd be too exhausted to leave. But Zhuo Fan wasn't fretting. He flicked his eyes to Vicious Pill King and made a hand sign. Since that is your wish, I shall oblige. Wraith Style's third move, Necro Dragon's Screech. Zhuo Fan snapped his jaws open and roared. This dragon roar was unlike the rumbling bloodbat's wave. It came out of Zhuo Fan's mouth and appeared as a dragon. It flew in the air and shook the whole world. That's a sound martial art, and a goddamned profound rank at that. Xie Tianyang had never been so overwhelmed with shock in his entire life. He said to Long Ju, "Didn't he say he comes from a third-rate clan? Just where the hell did he really come from when such an art doesn't even exist in the entire Tianyu Empire, or the Seven Houses?" Long Ju shook his head bitterly. "How am I supposed to know? That is one secret only the brat knows. But there's one absolute truth, he did not come from that third-rate clan." Xie Tianyang nodded slowly. Then the two sound waves collided. The tidal wave and the dragon fought each other, and the aftermath spread well into the crowd below. The previous shockwaves were from Yuan Qi, so the people could resist it. But this time, it was a soul attack. They would hit the ground, dead if their souls lacked in the least. Chu Qingcheng used her soul to resist, and Peony Overseer covered Xiao Dandan behind her. But even they, profound heaven experts, were forced to spew blood. With pain came shock, unable to believe that a sound martial art was unblockable. They weren't even the real targets of the attack and were already suffering. It was unimaginable how astonishing its power was on the real target. The people began looking at Zhuofan with dread. Vicious Pill King was relying on the 100 rumbling blood bats while Zhuofan could do it himself. His hand made another sign as Vicious Pill King did his best to withstand the shockwave, with dark blood leaking from his mouth. Never had he dreamt it possible for Zhuofan to use a sound martial art. He was an abomination. He was able to hold Zhuofan back before, but now, squinting, Zhuofan saw through the old coot's inability and roared again. The huge dragon above whipped its tail and the tidal sound wave was dissolved. It then flew through the 100 rumbling blood bats, whose eyes went blank as they fell on the ground like hail. Such was irony, cruel and merciless. The powerful blood bats, prideful in their sound waves, were shot dead by Zhuofan's own sound attack. But the huge dragon didn't stop there, passing through Vicious Pill King as well. His mind went blank, with not even a simple thought coming to him. Then, his body plopped to the ground, stiffly. Yang Fu wailed, "Master!" Zhuofan grinned and flew away. When his figure was gone, a mad laughter resounded. The great 7 houses beneath the imperial family are not able to kill one man even with 7 against 1. Their name is undeserved, bringing shame to the entire world, ha ha ha. Chapter 169, Calamitous Casualties. Chapter 169, Calamitous Casualties. Zhuofan was long gone, yet the people still stared dumbly in his direction, and when they managed to gather their wits, all they heard were mournful cries all around. The ground was littered with corpses and thousands of wounded. The aftermath of Zhuofan and Huangpu Qingyun's fierce clash, the last sound wave, in particular, must have caused over 1,000 to fall. Hell Valley's 5th elder weakly got to his feet, watching dazed, his missing arm bellowed to the sky, "Zhuofan." These two simple words were mixed with hatred and rage that any other survivor had after this bitter battle. Yep, after this bout Zhuofan's name would be heard clearer and further than ever, but never in a good light. He was one of the very few notorious figures known in Tianyu since its foundation. Demons paled to what he had become now. Towards the bodies strung about, to the endless suffering ramming their ears, people had only horror in their core. But at the same time, 2 words were deeply etched in their minds: Demon Archon. Chu Qingcheng's group finally came to as well, only to look on with pity at the miserable state surrounding them, and sent people to count in the dead. Xiao Ya was soon back with a tally, and a visage painted in sorrow. Edifice Lord, in the aftermath of the battle, 4862 are dead and 36,019 people are wounded. This count is mainly the heavily wounded, while the light wounded are too many to count. So many. Iris Overseer cried and said inside, "Is Zhuofan the harbinger of death? He killed so many in just one strike." Long Ju's group was startled as well. They were aware of how insanely powerful the brat was, but not once they thought him capable of this. It was no different than the aftermath of a skirmish, and Xiao Ya faltered, but still said it, because of 100 Pill meeting, many delegates of important clans have come. The number of casualties is disastrous, with more than 2,000 clans having lost their people, and 10,000 more in critical condition. Chu Qingcheng's heart tightened and was agitated. Xiao Ya, try to calm them down. Tell them Drifting Flowers Edifice will give them an answer for this disaster. That we will also offer some compensation for their losses. Yes. Xiao Ya left with a nod. Xie Tianyang took a deep breath. Damn, killing more than 4,000 at once. This brat is racking up enemies to an all-time high. Humph, How is it Darling's fault? With how many died in the aftermath, they should be taking up with Regent Estate for the damages. Not once did Xiao Dandan see Zhuo in a bad light and wasn't one to tolerate anyone who spoke ill of him as well. Xie Tianyang had to admit Xiao Dandan's words with a nod, but then he jeered, "Oh, Miss Dandan speaks true. Although, who has the nerve to complain to the 7 noble houses? Not to mention, Regent Estate is also a victim, with 4 dead and a cripple. Humph, since they don't dare to take it up with Regent Estate, they think Darling is one to be pushed around." Xiao Dandan stuck out her chin in pride. Yeah, with that freak's power, even a profound heaven expert would give him a wide berth. However, raising an eyebrow, Xie Tianyang chuckled, "Didn't you listen to Vicious Pill King? The kid's time is almost up, and he'll be unable to move then. Even a 3-year-old could do him in." That startled them. If not for his reminder, they'd have forgotten Zhuofan might be lying somewhere, weak and alone. Everyone, scour the place for Demon Zhuofan. I want him alive. He will have Regent Estate to answer to, Chu Qingcheng ordered. The only way to pull the wool over the other's eyes was to treat him like an enemy. Xiao Dandan bore her stare into Xie Tianyang with hatred. Why didn't you say so earlier? Would it have mattered? Those with half a brain are already searching for him. Xie Tianyang pointed around them with a smile. Tell me, who is missing here? Long Ju's group was puzzled. Only Xiao Dandan clapped. It's the Dong siblings. Then, she took off in Zhuofan's direction. Silly girl, why so anxious? Peony Overseer shouted. How can I not be? That Dong lass has a thing for Darling. I can't let her get ahead of me. The other had to laugh at that. Xiao Dandan was one innocent and chipper young lady. Peony Overseer's face flushed. You nitwit disciple, you're enough of a disappointment as it is. I get that you're all googly-eyed over him, but can you at least not make a fool out of me too? On another note, Zhuofan was rushing to fly away while also keeping an eye out for a nice corner of the world to hide and lick his wounds. All while his sight was growing ever hazy. Suddenly, his vision went dark and passed out. His body then crash-landed into a small valley with a bang. He touched the ground and got buried in a pile of rocks. Moon took the sun's place in the sky, then soon, the sun rose back to its rightful place. For 3 days, Zhuofan laid there among the rocks, defenseless. This was a blessing in disguise, as the wild animals would have dispensed with his body by now if he was out in the open. Russell Tilda. On the dawn of the 4th day, morning dew trickled from the rocks and on Zhuofan's face, rousing him from slumber. Zhuofan opened his eyes and felt his whole body aching so much he couldn't even budge. His original plan was to take the route and flee. He'd then divide and conquer his pursuers, Huangpu Qingyun's group of 4, as they got further apart from each other going after him. Bursting Pill was saved as his last resort. He had been trying to get away many times, but was foiled at every turn and even got surrounded. With no choice in the matter, he ended fighting the 4 of them together instead of making a break for it, but the toll for this was hardly worth it. Sensing his body, he was sure he was stuck here, disabled, for a month before he could even lift a finger. During this period, he'd be as helpless as a lamb, at the mercy of any strong guy that chanced upon him. Putting his life in fate's hands wasn't the demonic emperor's style. But no amount of lamenting would get him out of it. He was a piece of meat ready to have its life pounded out of him. Suddenly, slow steps were heard coming and Zhuofan tensed. But he was too hurt to even sweep the area with his soul to check. He was in the dark about the person's cultivation and panic was slowly setting in. Suppose it was the enemy's profound heaven expert. That would curb his short life even shorter. Tilda. Sounds of stones clashing resounded and Zhuofan knew the newcomer was digging through the pile. Boom. Then, the final layer was removed and a piercing sun ray graced his face and making him unable to see his rescuer. Then he heard a familiar voice. Brother, I found here. Dong Xiaowan? Frowning, Zhuofan sighed. If it's the Dong guys, I'm saved. Hey. Step aside Xiaowan, I'll get him out. Rocks crumbled to pieces as a powerful hand reached into the pile and pulled the buried Zhuofan out into the light of day. With a boom, his dirty body was wrested out of the darkness by Dong Tianba and smacked the ground hard. Zhuofan felt something was oddly off here before Zhuofan even saw their faces. What greeted him was the cold glinting steel of a 3rd-grade spiritual sword resting on his neck. Zhuofan's heart was floored. What did I ever do to you? Dong Xiaowan cried. Brother, what are you doing? Stay out of this. Dong Tianba stared Zhuofan down, the sword shaking in his hand. Demon Zhuofan, I've been waiting to meet you for a long time. You're just as they say, so cunning you made complete fools out of us. Zhuofan smiled. Here I am, Demon Zhuofan. I never planned to fool you, but you never left me alone. You dare talk back? Dong Tianba's anger spiked. I'm asking you, where's my dear brother Song Yu? Why did you take his face in coming to Drifting Flowers City? Zhuofan finally got to know what this was all about and grinned wickedly. I'm sure you realize the truth by now. You killed him? Dong Tianba's hand trembled and his eyes reddened of course. Why? Grinning, Zhuofan's eyes were cold, and his tone flat. I am a demon. Since when did I need a reason to kill someone? Zhuofan's remorseless eyes in killing Song Yu got Dong Tianba trembling from anger. Roaring, his sword advanced. No, brother. Dong Xiaowan threw herself before Zhuofan and said nervously, Brother, he helped us. We would have died if it weren't for him, and so would our clan. You're not only picking on the weak, but you're also biting the hands that feeds you. Dong Tianba's sword stopped. His hands trembled, a reflection of his chaotic heart. Who dares harm my darling? A sudden shout echoed. A flash of red pushed Dong Xiaowan back and stood before Zhuofan. Xiao Dandan, of course. Dong Tianba, you got some nerve. You dare mess with my man? Chapter 170 A 3 Layers Jump. Chapter 170 A 3 Layers Jump. Xiao Dandan scared Dong Tianba, jumping 2 steps back, causing his sword to tremble like a leaf. He wasn't afraid of her, but the Drifting Flowers edifice behind her move. Zhuofan's cold tone came. Xiao Dandan jerked and turned her head in doubt, only to meet a pair of frosty eyes. Darling, this ungrateful punk wants to hurt you. Are you deaf? Zhuofan's roar got Xiao Dandan shaking in her boots and demurely moved aside. Zhuofan was immobile, but that didn't curb his dominating attitude in the least. He spoke to Dong Tianba calmly. I won't lie to you. I not only killed your good little brother, Song Yu, but his sister as well. If you plan on taking revenge, no one's stopping you. Dong Tianba was hesitating and flitted a glance at Xiao Dandan. She had her glaring eyes riveted to him, as if to say, just try it. Zhuofan understood his reluctance. This is between us, men. Women have no place here. Listen here, Xiao Dandan, if you mess with the Dong clan because of this, then don't ever call me darling again. Xiao Dandan flared, then you'll accept me? Zhuofan just stared at Dong Tianba with unnerving calm. The sword lifted at times and fell in others. Dong Tianba saw Zhuofan's eyes shift from hatred to gratitude. Recalling the time when they were drinking like best buds, Dong Tianba threw the sword away with a sigh. Forget it. I'll just take it as brothers. Song Yu's luck was the worst to meet a demon archon like you. Why aren't you attacking? Is it because of Xiao Dandan? Kill her then kill me. You two need to just keep a tight lid on this, and no even Drifting Flowers edifice will find out about this. If you're still worried, I can teach you how to make a scapegoat out of another clan. 100% success guaranteed. Zhuofan smiled wickedly. His words got all 3 of them jumping. Did the world have someone so kind to teach his killer not to get found out? Xiao Dandan was morose and muttered, Darling, I'm trying to help you. So why do you want me killed as well? Turning a blind eye to this love-struck puppy, Zhuofan stared at Dong Tianba with a vague smile. Dong Tianba was vexed. Wana is right. You saved us before, and killing you will bite the hands that feed us. It's best if today ends with both our debts being settled. You're saying, you're letting me go for saving you? Zhuofan smiled, nodding. Dong Tianba sighed. What a pity, I just can't take revenge for my dear brother Song Yu. Whoosh. Dong Tianba was cut short by a golden streak passing his ear. With a boom, a 50-meter-tall rock was pulverized. The golden light returned to Zhuofan and grinned wickedly. The 3 found it to be a golden infant. It was indeed Zhuofan's bone-tempering stage blood infant. With a sneer, Zhuofan's tone was cold. Dong Tianba, you are far from worthy to decide my fate. My life is my own no matter the circumstances. Suppose your sword got a bit too close, well, you wouldn't be standing right now. Breaking out in a cold sweat, Dong Tianba looked at the grinning blood infant, then at the sinister smile on Zhuofan. The 2 caused his heart to beat a mile a minute. Demon Zhuofan was the one who killed Yugichi, not someone a nobody like him could handle. Zhuofan needed but a blow, and this second-rate young master would be naught but dust. It made a mockery of his earlier display of settling their score even. I never had the right to choose the fate of someone who challenged the 7 noble houses. Xiao Dandan's eyes were more intoxicated than ever. Her darling was so hurt he couldn't move, but the flair around him, the boldness, made him a man among men, the best of the best, was still there. Dong Xiaoan wasn't that far gone as Xiao Dandan, but among the fear and trepidation her eyes conveyed, they nonetheless held a constant ripple and firm gaze on him. Not bored enough to mind the eyes of his fans, Zhuo Fan closed his eyes. Take me somewhere safe. I need a fortnight at the least to recover. Okay, darling, I'll carry you. Xiao Dandan jumped at the chance, holding no reservations. Zhuo Fan's silence was all the approval she needed. Suddenly, Zhuo Fan's ears peeled and he opened his eyes. Wait. Someone's coming. The others looked around for any signs while Zhuo Fan got Blood Infant back in his body. Blood Infant was good with scaring bone-tempering cultivators, but he might not succeed in a sneak attack against a profound heaven expert. Least of all going from the front. Only when he paired up with Blood Infant in battles was he invincible, but now, he was a dead weight and Blood Infant's success rate fell sharply. He hid Blood Infant in his body, waiting for the right moment to strike a killing blow. The bushes ruffled under the anxious gaze of everyone. Then, an old man came out. Zhuo Fan knew who it was. Liu Yizhen couldn't be happier. He found Zhuo Fan. Song, Grandmaster Zhuo, I finally found you. I'm so glad you're all right. Zhuo Fan looked at the others clueless. Was I ever so close with this oldie? What got you so concerned about my health? Zhuo Fan was baffled, seeing Liu Yizhen jumping to examine Zhuo Fan's state. Zhuo Fan and the rest found no ill will hidden among his actions and let him through. Liu Yizhen was frowning a moment later, gushing with worry. Grandmaster Zhuo's meridians are damaged. You'll need 3 to 5 months to recover. Luckily I have the 6th grade pill, Young Recovery Pill. It may not be enough to bring about a total recovery, but enough to allow Grandmaster Zhuo to at least move. Young Recovery Pill? Zhuo Fan was overjoyed. He knew of this pill since he was an alchemist. With it and the body jade sap, he'd be up and about in no time. Flat before the 100-pill meeting, he had no 6th grade ingredients and couldn't refine a young recovery pill, or he'd have done it ages ago. Liu Yizhen's arrival was such timely help. Liu Yizhen saw him in glee and was even overjoyed. His hand flashed with a bottle and presented a scarlet pill. Xiao Dandan hovered it near Zhuo Fan for a close inspection, then let him have it when it was deemed safe. In an instant, Zhuo Fan began glowing a blinding light from his main acupoints as the warmth traveled through his meridians. It was so strong that even the others around him could feel it. It started with a twitch of his finger as Zhuo Fan slowly got the feeling in his arm, testing its range of movements. Liu Yizhen shouted in glee, "In less than an hour, Grandmaster Zhuo will be able to walk." Zhuo Fan wasn't one to wait as he used his only able arm to swallow a drop of body jade sap. Liu Yizhen slapped his head. How could I forget? Grandmaster Zhuo still has that divine treasure. You won't even need an hour now and you'll make a full recovery. This shocked the rest. Zhuo Fan sat cross-legged and focused on recovery. The medicine flowed throughout his body and Zhuo Fan could feel how his meridians recover. It went so well that they not only recovered, but became stronger. Bang! With a sudden popping sound, Zhuo Fan's ears twitched as a newfound power roamed unhinged through him. Dong Tianba cried. He broke through. His words were followed by another pop and Zhuo Fan's power doubled as he even started to glow in waves. It was as if diamond sand was roaming through his body. He broke through again. Liu Yizhen blinked his aged eyes and yelped, "This is incredible. Breaking through twice in one breath. How many in this world would ever have such luck?" Then it happened again right in the middle of his speech. "What?" Liu Yizhen's voice trembled. "Doing it 3 times in a row is unheard of. Grandmaster Zhuo's title of freak is justly deserved. Even I had to cultivate day after day, year after year, to advance, but never once have I done it so fast." Everyone around him, who heard his speech, rolled their eyes. How can you even compare yourself? He is a freak, a genius among geniuses. How can an old coot, who's not even a genius to begin with, even dream of climbing to his level? Liu Yizhen realized his blunder and straightened his beard awkwardly. An hour later, Zhuo Fan's power withdrew within him and opened his eyes with a flash of azure. Every minute movement within a kilometer around him in the valley appeared in his mind, down to the last cricket. This was Radiant Stage's discerning feel. When Zhuo Fan just entered the Radiant Stage with his soul, He exhausted his yuan qi from using that dangerous pill, thus preventing him from carefully sensing the changes the new stage brought. Now, he broke 3 layers and entered the 5th layer of the bone-tempering stage in one smooth motion. His growth wasn't limited to that of the body, but of the soul as well, while also stabilizing it just like Fang Qiubai, who had eyes everywhere within a kilometer of him. Zhuo Fan could as well. All that was left was to practice killing with his mere intent that was a radiant stage expert's most dreadful ability. Chapter 171, Antidote. Chapter 171, Antidote. Congratulations, Grandmaster Zhuo, for your recovery and improvement. Liu Yizhen gave a gesture of respect along with a smile. Zhuo Fan shot him a glance. Skip the small talk and say what you want. Liu Yizhen's face froze for a second, then bloomed into a broad smile. Grandmaster Zhuo is a man of true talent. I will no longer hide it from you. Humph, that's all thanks to knowing there is no one in this world helping a stranger without getting something in return. There's no free lunch in this world. You must be after something big to give away a 6th grade pill. Zhuo Fan's piercing gaze saw right through him. Liu Yizhen muttered something under his breath, then threw himself at Zhuo Fan's feet, kowtowing 3 times. Disciple Liu Yizhen admires Grandmaster Zhuo's endless talent. I beseech Grandmaster to accept me. Dumbstruck, not even in Zhuo Fan's wildest dreams did he consider the old guy's request being this. Scowling for a second, he said, give me an empty jade slip. Liu Yizhen's eyes sparkled and handed it over with glee. Yes, master. Not even he expected his request to go through so smoothly. However, Zhuo Fan closed his eyes for a brief moment, then gave the jade slip back. Grandmaster Liu, this jade slip contains 3 alchemy secret skills, my debt to you. We are now even. Don't mention apprenticeship again. I do not take disciples. Why the hell would I take another when the first and last one almost got me killed? Humph, teaching a disciple starves the master. This saying couldn't be more right. I will abide by it all my life. Zhuo Fan sighed, recalling that traitorous disciple of his. Liu Yizhen wanted to plead his case, but Zhuo Fan cut him off with a wave. Zhuo Fan then turned to Xiao Dandan, throwing her a pitch-black ring. Xiao Dandan was startled. Wasn't it the same storage ring Chu Qingcheng gave her? Take this back to Edifice Lord Chu. Tell her that I have paid the favor for the medicine. She and I are now even. What about me? Xiao Dandan was panicking, her heart in turmoil. Zhuo Fan perked an eyebrow and watched her funny. It has nothing to do with me. Do whatever. He took a single step and shot high into the sky, disappearing in a flash. Liu Yizhen watched the jade slip downcast, then sighed as he put it in his ring. Xiao Dandan looked at the sky and cried, War, darling doesn't want me. Dong Xiaowan saw the heartbroken Xiao Dandan and lowered her head in desolation. At least Zhuo Fan explained himself to Xiao Dandan, while not sparing her so much as a glance. Am I of no value in his heart? Dong Tianba saw through his sister's distress and patted her shoulder. Wana, that guy is bound to cause great chaos. There's nothing in common between him and us. Dong Xiaowan nodded, her heart clear. How could a girl from a second-rate clan deserve a hero who fought back the 7 houses? But that didn't mean she could accept it. She looked up at the wailing Xiao Dandan and felt envious he did spare this lady a glance at the least. In the hazy night, among the broken-down houses of the slum, Chu Qingcheng's lovely figure struck a touching image. Standing there in the moonlight, she had behind her Iris Overseer and Long Ju's group, while Drifting Flowers Edifice's disciples scoured the place for any sign of Zhuo Fan. Edifice Lord Chu, it's been 4 days already. Are you sure he'd return here? Xie Tianyang shook off a yawn. Chu Qingcheng was still as she watched Zhuo Fan's fleeing direction, but her eyes flickered with resolve. This is where we lived together. I know he will come here once he is safe. Sigh, that only means you don't know him. That brat is a ruthless and stone-cold killer. When he was docile to you in that idyllic period, it was just him playing his role as Songyu. That wasn't the real him, Xie Tianyang sighed. Chu Qingcheng smiled, but her mind was set. I believe in the feelings from that time. He will not abandon me. We can only hope. Xie Tianyang sighed, not believing in the slightest. Tap, tap. Suddenly, a horse's trotting was heard and everyone looked to see a worn-out carriage drawing near. Chu Qingcheng's eyes shined, her heart in bliss. She recognized this carriage. It was Song Zhuo Fan's his back. Chu Qingcheng cried, rushing over with the others in tow. But the people to come out were just Dong Tianba, Dong Xiaowan, and the crying Xiao Dandan. Chu Qingcheng realized they were the only one in and asked, "You came back without finding him?" Dong Xiaowan and Xiao Dandan were downhearted and in no mood to speak. Dong Tianba bowed, "Edifice Lord Chu, we did find him, but he left once he recovered. We didn't follow." "What, he left?" Chu Qingcheng exclaimed in shock before he could finish. This man left without so much as giving her an explanation? "Why?" "Wara, Sister Qingcheng, darling doesn't want us." Xiao Dandan could no longer hold in the pain and let it out in the form of rivers of tears. Chu Qingcheng was stunned as Peony Overseer drew her dear disciple into a hug. "Dandan, tell me, did he do anything to you?" Sniffing twice, Xiao Dandan gave the black ring to Chu Qingcheng and said between tears, "Sister Qingcheng, he said he repaid the favor for the medicine. From now on there is no relation between us." "What, does he have no conscience? Is he that heartless?" Peony Overseer went into a rage. "I told you, men aren't good for anything." Chu Qingcheng was lost as she took the items from the ring. It was the spirit tablet Chu Qingcheng gave to Zhuofan before going to her death. Now, Zhuofan returned it as if he didn't recognize her as his wife. There was also a box and Chu Qingcheng looked within with a dead gaze. Aunt Dao snatched it and sighed, "At least he has the conscience to leave this behind." Bu Chu Qingcheng couldn't make herself care about anything, not even the return of the body root. All she ever felt was loss except for returning the bottle of body jade sap. Everything else was back. His meaning loud and clear. From now on they were strangers. "You mean, he was using me the whole time?" Chu Qingcheng swayed as she whispered. Yet the look on her face spoke volumes of her denial. "I finally found a man that I love, only to be deceived in the end." Xie Tianyang had long seen it coming and coughed, "Edifice Lord Chu, let me just say something, but don't get angry. The brat told us he came to Drifting Flowers City for the body jade sap. But because of the sudden involvement of the Regent estate, he helped you in passing. And that only after judging that the benefits outweighed the risks. His actions aren't driven by kindness or compassion, so please don't feel sad." Shivering, Chu Qingcheng frowned, still no willing to believe what's in front of her. Iris Overseer couldn't take it anymore and patted Chu Qingcheng's shoulder. She knew Chu Qingcheng was kind on the outside, but quite proud inside. No man ever managed to get her attention, but this time, she finally found a man after her own heart, only to be cast away without a shred of remorse. The bitter pain was a far deeper wound than that of flesh. Peony Overseer had to say something as well. "How dare this punk break our Edifice Lord's heart? The next time I see him, I will peel his skin." "Can you?" Snorting, Xie Tianyang mocked from the side, startled. Peony Overseer wet her dry lips as she recalled Zhuofan's freaky power and a cold shiver crawled down her spine. "I take it back. I'll just curse him in my head." The others didn't know how to react. "What's this?" Dao Danyang took out a vial from the ring. "Qingcheng, did you give him this as well?" Shaking her head, Chu Qingcheng's eyes were hazy. "I didn't give him these pills." Squinting, Dao Danyang's eyes shined. "It must be his gift." She opened it and a thick medicinal aroma wafted about, along with the faint roars of dragons. Aren't these the perfect 8th grade pills refined in the Pill King finals? Why did he give them up? Dao Danyang started counting. 1, 2, 16, 17. Weren't they 18? Dao Danyang's eyes wandered in thought when suddenly threw a pill to Iris Overseer as she yelled, "Eat it." Caught off guard, Qin Saiqing was puzzled but did what she said suddenly. An azure glow came from within her. Qin Saiqing then sat to absorb the pill with eyes closed. 15 minutes later, a muffled boom was heard and Qin Saiqing's power shot up under the shock of everyone there. Iris Overseer broke through only after a full 30 minutes did Qin Saiqing opened her clear eyes in joy. "Aunt Dao, not only I advanced but the rainbow cloud palm left behind by vicious Pill King is gone." "What?" They all turned with hope at the vial. The poison of Pill King Hall was infamous throughout the land, yet this group here seemed to hold the only cure. What was even more astonishing was that they as many as 17 antidotes to the rainbow cloud palm's poison. Such news would unleash a bitter fight over them among clans, with even Pill King Hall participating. The difference was, while the clans would come to get them, the Pill King Hall would do its all to destroy them. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.